Hello and welcome to LUTI tonight. We have Division 8 semifinals for you tonight. I am Brave, and with me I've got my co-commentator Dino. Dino, how are you feeling?
Pretty good. I may or may not have woken up an hour before the set, but it's okay, guys.
I can I can sort of see the college dorm vibes in the
Yeah.
background, and I'm like, oh, I remember those days.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, we've got Ethereal versus the Night Logic today. This is, again, the Div8 semifinals. We have already completed the other semifinals of Div8, so we already know who the winner will be fighting in finals. But we've got the first seed from Group A and Group C here today. And if I could just see the rosters of Ethereal, that would be good to talk. I know I recognized Blizzetta. I used to play a good amount with them back when Team Unknown still existed. But we've got, oh my gosh, the Night Logic has so many people. That is 8. Is that the cap? Is that like the cap for rosters?
I think
That's so many
so.
people.
I remember looking under Sendo. I think it was like 9, actually, if I remember correctly.
They've got
I
a
may have
cheerleader on there.
miscounted.
Oh, they made it to the cap of the LUTI roster. Insane.
I could never. I would like actually explode if I had that many people on my team.
No, yeah, I definitely prefer teams of just 4 and like 5. I wouldn't say 5 is max, but 6 feels like max for me because you end up getting so many different combinations that it's hard to synergize and really have like the same game plans, I feel.
Yeah. It's definitely really rough. But it's interesting. I was looking at these teams earlier, and both of them actually have a 7-0 record of their matches. So it's going to be a battle of the undefeated.
Wow. Two
Yeah.
Titans here. The two Titans of Div8, of course, trying to work their way into finals. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And now we've got game 1 coming through. Splat zones on Mahi Mahi. We've got a pretty standard pencil comp with 3 pretty great slaying weapons, and Head It on the other side with End Splash for that insane paint on the Night Logic.
Open it up, we see quite standard build. Lots of run speed on that edit, as one would do. And quickly, both teams going for the zone. It seems like quite a back and forth. Looks like Night Logic trying their best and do end up getting that zone as one goes down on Ethereal.
Yeah, that is going to be now 4v2. The Night Logic has really the man advantage here, and they also get the blaster pick on the pencil. They are going to really be able to get a lot of the... Oh, but the Sharking Carbon quite misses that. It had the good Shark, but did not quite get the pick, and that is going to be even more the Night Logic advantage here. Really staggering on the side of Ethereal.
You see that Stamp going out is able to find one with that throw as the water level is now dropping. We see, oh, 3 went down quickly on Night Logic, but are back thanks to Cooler. We see them back 4 up, and that, oh my gosh, all of them are going down as this time just keeps ticking away. Ethereal just not able to find their way to the zone.
But we do have 2 drops on left side, and we were not prepared for it, so we will have both a Crab and a Zip kind of assaulting the zone right now. We do have a 1-for-1 trade, but the Night Logic are going to go ahead and go 2 down there. They still have the zone, though, so they're still getting points, and we just have the Neo Splash able to keep up paint here. They still haven't received penalty. They will finally receive that, and the End Splash is out of there. But the Crab, it looks like a huge wipeout for Ethereal. They're going to be able to start their push now.
Yeah, it's something quite the flip. We see them just trying to hold them in their base, but not pushing too far. The Carbon just sharking on that little drop area, trying to prevent them from getting forward. That Pencil just poking out, just trying to get people to stay back. It'll be interesting to see how Night Logic plans to get back in from here as we see the Ethereal's Stamper go down, 1 go down on Night Logic as well, 2 down now on Night Logic, but the zone is almost flipped.
Yeah, it was looking like with both Hammer and Crab, they would have been able to do something, but that Zuka just came out and absolutely destroyed both the Blaster on the Night Logic as well as another player on the plat, really allowing Ethereal to hold here. Of course, they are getting assaulted right now, and the End Splash is just going to go ahead and drop that Stamper, leaving only the pen on the side of Ethereal.
Yeah, quite the flip there as we now see Night Logic working down on their penalty as the Pencil now goes down on Ethereal. Just getting this good hold as a Cooler was up, but no one was quite able to find it. We see them just trying their best to get forward, to get down on that drop, but no one quite getting it as a crab comes out, just trying to poke at that wiper as one goes down on Ethereal.
Popping these strikes, trying to hold the team back. They do end up being 2 down still, so with this penalty ticking down very quickly, and they're only really going to have a Zuka here, but the Zuka goes down. That is going to be practically no specials for Ethereal to try and grab this zone. They do have a zip, but Crab is not going to be there in time. The zip is also not even getting popped. It finally does, but it's a little too late as the zone caps and the Night Logic wins game 1.
Quite a back and forth game to start, but it was very like strongholds and then a very flipped another stronghold until Night Logic was just able to get their ending hold, which was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a really good job of staggering Ethereal, making them really kind of go in one by one. They weren't really able to get much of a coordinated effort there a few times that game.
The stamp throws always make me happy. It's funny to see when that stamp finally getting its glory. I've always been a stamp advocate.
I would agree with you pre-buff, but now that it's so massive, it's just extremely slow nuke that everyone has to look out for.
True. Yeah, good use of specials all around. That crab just not really being able to find it at the end. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, but we will be going to game 2, which is going to be Clamblitz on Barnacle and Dime. Dino, do you like Clamblitz as a mode?
I mean, I only like it when I'm playing with my team. If I'm playing in solo, it's kind of like, I can't do this. Otherwise, it's like...
Yeah, solo queue is a little bit tough with Clamblitz for sure. Needing way more coordination than is required. Maybe not quite enough to just this way. Might need a little more.
Yeah. Clamblitz solo, it really just feels like you're fighting a 7v1 because you don't even know what your own teammates are doing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, especially like when people are flanking to give the jump, sometimes you need your teammate to tell you to come back. Like, if it's not working out, we've all experienced it. The ink brush or sploos just under the enemy basket, spamming this way. Well, we are getting scored on, my guy.
Yeah.
They are still actively making points, and we are 3 down. Please come back.
So real, so real. Yeah, Barnacle. Barnacle is the map of all time, guys.
Hey, I mean, on this map, specifically for Clamblitz, there are a few notable things about it. One, the basket is super far back. You need a really good, strong control on the plat for quite a while before you're able to really sneak a ball in there, like, at all.
Not much changes in the comps. Maybe just a switch to a shot? I believe that is new. But otherwise, it looks like the Night Logic's comp is the same.
Yeah, Ethereal as well saw that valuable Zuka from Carbon and said, we will run 2 now. It worked pretty well that one time. Wow, strikes already in 15 seconds, already kind of displacing people, making them go where they maybe not want to go, as well as a Zuka coming out, going to take out the edit with help from, I suppose, Cooler, the pencil. And now we have a slight man advantage for Ethereal, but they do go 2 down, leaving really only the Stamper, who does manage to get 1. And also has Zip online, choosing not to use it though, and going to get immediately... Wait, what happened there? It looks like the Stamp actually killed that hammer. I was totally expecting that hammer to be able to take out the Stamp there.
Yeah, that was quite crazy, but definitely something a Stamper is able to do, so kudos to them. Stamper still having that Zip online, and we see Azuka coming out from that shot, able to find the edit once again. No one's really been able to control those pots long enough to get it. Oh, as one goes down to a suction bomb. 2 down on Ethereal as the pencil backs up to their stack, trying to stay alive and is able to jump out quickly thanks to that Cooler as a splash and comes down and finds them.
Yeah, but right now we only have 7 clams from M-Splash. They are going to be able to go ahead and try. They do indeed as well score that ball with the quick splat dashes on that side. It is looking like a little bit of a dead push, so we are trying to find some picks here. And we do find 2, which is now going to really revitalize this as more so of like a hold. They do not have, of course, a ball or more scores, but it's just the pencil on the side of Ethereal, and we should be able to really hold plat here if we were positioned there.
Those drinks coming out, always a good sign. But that blaster poking after that pencil, just trying to get them out, but does end up abandoning them before going down to a Zuka. One down on the side of Night Logic. Another going down to that Zuka, as it's now 2 down for Night Logic, as they're trying their best just to hold their little lead that they have.
Okay, W Zuka with the double and the follow-up. The Wiper also goes down, and now the Zipcaster is going to be a thorn in their side, but no, the Headit gets a very, very nice pick on that Stamper Zipcaster, which is going to really slow down the offensive pressure here. But we do have 2 others going down. Other than the Headit, both the Blaster and the Splash, which should leave a pretty large hole in the defense here of the Night Logic, except for, as well, Ethereal also then going 2 down, is going to kind of spell the end of this scrappy fight.
And we see the stand online ready for that Wiper, just waiting to see them use it as Ethereal has the ball, just trying their best to push. And we see the Blaster go down as it looks like Meter just trying their best to Shark, find a good strike. As 2 now go down, this is an opportune time for them to move in, but oh, Strike's coming out, just pushing them back slightly.
The Wiper jump is going to go ahead and get punished, and we have an End Splash diving here on the right street, doesn't find one, and is now very, very obvious to all the teammates, but we just have some bursts not connecting, and Pencil also unable to run a ball in. This is some unfortunate mishap from here from Ethereal. They do still have 3 down, though, and with a ball right in front of the basket, no, they're not quite able to with the bomb. Just going to really stop that chance of scoring there.
See another ball being made quickly by that Carbon. They're just trying to hold that second. Is able to find that Wiper, but not before Strike's coming out. And just trying to hold the rest of their team back. They're really going to need a good push. As Zuka comes out trying to find one, but that Stamper does go down. The Blaster now pushing that stack and finds another. It's looking kind of rough for Ethereal as they're not really able to get that push in.
They do have mid though, so they could Shark out a few kills. They also have the jumps in as well, so if the tides could turn really, really quickly if we just had some good picks. We do have a trade 1-for-1, as well as a Zuka coming out, but with that Zuka finding none, it is going to look like mid is really contestable now from the Night Logic. They can really be able to come from either street at the moment. We are going to have a cooler now from Ethereal as well, and with a ton of clams on Ethereal, you would think they would want to go and try to score, but they do go 2 down, which is kind of going to stop them from doing so.
The Strike's coming out once again also from that Splash. He's now rushing, trying to find a way in, and it does get another climb in now, making it harder for Ethereal to be able to get that lead if they're able to get him in and push it with less than a minute left. Will they be able to get any more clams for the Night Logic? It looks like they are able to find 3 more clams into that basket before going down.
If they can just get 1 more, ooh, they do. That is huge. That is so huge for the Night Logic. They are now within like 2 balls scored, and they still have the lead, which is really, really good, because a lot of times you can cheese in 2 balls with just a single person flipping through and a jump, but that is not going to be the case here. We need so many picks on the side of Ethereal. We do have 2 as well, with the pressure from the Zuka as well as the Carbon. They do have the chance here.
See those 2 balls online as just trying their best to just rush and get and is able to burn that first ball in. Will the Pencil be able to get the second ball? And we'll see the Carbon going up, trying to defend, and they do find it with a 3rd ball in as well. Oh my goodness.
That was amazing, amazing awareness from that Carbon. That Carbon had 7 clams and was looking for 1. There just happened to be 1 on snipe. I would like to say I doubt that that's the one that spawns at the beginning of the game on snipe, but someone did not pick up all 3 clams on that snipe, opting to kind of lock that pod in. But the Carbon with 7 was very, very smart there to know that he could easily go get that score.
Yeah, quite intense and a very good ending push from Ethereal to be able to get that win in. Quite intense.
Yeah, huge comeback play with just 3 power clams.
Really, really good overall from both teams. Night Logic had a pretty good hold that whole time, and unfortunately just at the very end fumbled a little bit. So they still have the chance to come back in this next match. We'll see what happens on Inkblot Tower. So how do you feel about Tower Brave? Because I quite like it.
I just like Tower quite a bit. I think Tower is probably my least favorite mode, if not Rainmaker. So you know, I'm not feeling too hot.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, that's just me. I definitely prefer zones and clams, but Tower Inkblot is a really solid map choice we do see on the LUTI map list. It is one of the classic ones, and especially Splatoon 2, played all the time in that game competitively.
It's So definitely one of those maps where like there's certain places you have to hold if you want to be able to move up. Like obviously that bats area if you want second check. If you don't have that bats, it might as well be a death sentence for whoever's on that tower. So, and holding the plat is also equally as important for either side. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams make a plan to be able to like just get these pushes through.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing anyone flanking using the step, using that alternate route onto plat, because it can pull a lot of attention away from bats, making your teammates more easily take that area.
Yeah, if I had to take a guess, it'd probably either be that Carbon or Stamper or Wiper. Those are definitely the type to go through that step. See the game opening up. Same comp coming out from Ethereal, as well as from Night Logic.
Yeah, we've got the GG strikes on the side of that end splash, of course, so no overtime really for Ethereal. None of that comeback from 100 to 40 in 5 seconds. Not this time.
We see.
We do have a Sharpened Carbon over by the right stack, which I'm very curious about. But it looks like we are going to go ahead and see the strikes coming out, and the Night Logic trying to get this first push here. They are already at the first check and have already killed one of Ethereal's. With the Zuka coming out, only puts out pressure, does not quite get a pick. And this blaster is now going to punish that shot. It was just quite unaware of this blaster. And also, the blaster going into step and splashdowning as well just has so much space here.
They built really well, but none of their teammates were on that checkpoint, so they weren't able to break through, as now they're getting bombarded by 3 of their teammates from Ethereal, and do unfortunately go down as Ethereal now moves back into this middle area trying to find some picks.
Yeah, Trickster on Ethereal just kind of able to hold that one-man defense, as well as going to go ahead and get a nice pick there on the shooter. That is going to be no strikes for quite a bit, because that was a coolerless death. Now we do have Blaster fighting at this tower right now, and he's going to get one, gets that Zuka, as well as is still alive. Finally goes down to both the Stamper and the Pen looking, and that is going to be check 1 for Ethereal.
You know, we see 2 go down on Night Logic and Ethereal now moving up, but does see their Stamper go down. But not before 2 go down again on the Night Logic. The strikes coming out are making it hard for them to get through that check, as those bats are being contested, and that one-man army just trying their best on Ethereal is not able to find anyone before they do unfortunately go down.
Getting check and trading out there as a Stamper is insane. You were surrounded by the Night Logic Inc. They really didn't have bats at all, but they simply didn't look at tower, and so it really allowed Ethereal to get a huge value push there.
We see Azuka coming out, aiming for that tower, is not able to find anyone, but does at the very end that pencil, putting pressure on the tower as a stamp is coming out. Looking like they're just trying to find some picks as they do throw it and do find that pencil.
The Wiper has been alive for so long, but a Carbon from behind does not quite take him, but does kill the jump and finally gets that pick on the Wiper as well. That's going to leave only the end splash on tower as like the aggressive presence here, which I said end splash, yes. That is not a good aggressive presence. And so now you're going to have that backing up to be able to use strikes. This is going to give Ethereal kind of mid, and they also have Cooler, which is going to be pretty good for setting up this push.
We see 2 Zukas coming out, 1 finding, 1 not. Another, oh my. As that shot tries to go
getting 2.
Trying to go through those steps, but does get taken out by the blaster.
We only have a head and bats to do this defense, and peeking right there, not quite able to get anyone off tower, and also does go down. It's a 2v2 right now, but we have a Carbon Sharking and someone with Zipcaster. They can just kind of go wherever they want. They do go ahead and both get taken out by that Hammer and Blaster combo, though, as the Night Logic puts an end to Ethereal's push.
Very good push, though. Getting down to 25 is very strong, especially since Night Logic has only broken through that first check. So it'll be interesting to see, with only a little less than 2 minutes left, how Night Logic plans to combat this. As you see a Splash Gem coming out and finding 1. Quite interesting how the tower interacted with that.
It looks like we had a Carbon potential missed flank there. They really spotted that, but now we have a Zuka from all the way of the other side of the stack, putting out pressure, but not quite getting any picks once again, and the head is just going to chill on tower. We do have this flanking shot, but we should know, since the Zuka, that is going to be 3 down, except for the Stamper. I'm not sure the Stamper is quite positioned to be able to one-man army defense here this time. They do take out the person on tower, but we do have 2 people just able to rush right back onto tower. We're only 6 points away from a lead flip here, but this Carbon doing everything they can. They get 1. They're able to really just dance around this tower, and the tower's not going in the direction the Night Logic wants right now.
That Carbine was really able to hold just long enough for their teammates to be able to come in and help with the defense. As Azuka finds a jump in, we see NightLogic trying their best to find. They do end up finding that Stamper as that shot, just rushing around the tower, getting those drinks, and trying to find that Wiper who's just sitting underneath their drop, trying to get some cheeky pokes out. That Pencil finding the blaster on the tower as well.
That was a beautiful pick from the Pencil. You don't normally see too many picks from Pencils, especially at, I would say, this level of play. But right now we have the Stamper diving, gets one, gets two. The Hammer does go ahead and punish him and the shot. And the Hammer throw gonna take out the Pencil. This is looking like the NightLogic want to lead flip very badly here. But we have a splashdown on tower taking two. It's a 1v1 shooter for shooter. And the shot wins. That's going to be a defense for Ethereal. An extremely clutch one at bat for the shot.
10 seconds left. Will the NightLogic be able to push back in and grab this tower? We see one go down Ethereal. That shot. No specials online for anyone with 3 seconds left. Will they be able to hop on that tower? They are not, which means the win goes to Ethereal.
That was a crazy tense defense. It really felt like after that splashdown got two, it was going to be on the side of the NightLogic to take lead there, but the blaster went down and just was not able to support the end splash there at the end.
I'm sure Ethereal's VC is popping off right now. It's probably very loud in there.
Yeah, with such a close defense, multiple defenses holding that 25-point lead, in addition to just having now being up 2-1, where they were down 1-0 just a few games ago, really is good for their momentum as well.
Indeed. It was definitely interesting to see how close it got, and I'm sure the panic was real on both sides. So, good job to both in this match. It was very close and very intense the whole time. I had no idea what was going to happen.
Yeah, same here. So many times my expectations were betrayed that game.
Definitely quite interesting. That Stamper also just really be able to hold that one-man army as many times as possible. Quite good for the side of Ethereal. Unfortunate for the NightLogic.
Yeah, now we're going to be going to Rainmaker for the first time. Rainmaker Museum will be our next game. This is going to be a really difficult map to push past 30 points, I would say. A lot of the leads you are going to be seeing are around the first check, in between the first check and 30-point range here. There's just so many defensive spots from high ground. It's really difficult to push past the pillow on the plat spinner area at all.
Yeah, if you're going to get past 30, you really need to get a wipe down on the other team, just be able to gun it for that checkpoint. But even sometimes, like, maybe you're able to get a cheeky, there's two down, and you're just able to run through whatever ink is there to just try to get up. So
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
interesting to see what they see to do with this, especially with, like, specials like strikes where you can just run through those strikes. It'll be interesting to see what strategies both teams come up with.
Yeah, if one is flanking, that definitely leaves some room for some cheese and running really fast as they are behind, as typically happens in Rainmaker games. But or if someone is too far top left, like if they are all the way where a maybe leader would like to position to try and stop the first check, then they could also just get caught off guard and get ran past. It looks like we have no one dropping on the quick flanks here, but we do have the Blaster trying to find one in mid in this neutral fight. But that is going to mean they have, of course, almost no special. We are about to see a shot Zuka here, and this will really determine how good the first team fight is. They do find one, but the Wiper is going to find two, and that is going to really be better for the NightLogic, as now they're able to fight in mid against the remaining Stamper and Shot, taking out them and giving jumps quickly with Cooler. They even grab the Rainmaker and are headed towards the first check. With only the Pencil, the Rainmaker doesn't quite get that somehow, but is able to get the check.
Quite a strong first push from the NightLogic, is still having two specials one and two down on Ethereal. They're able to get that pop and just trying to move back in with a Stamp. Throwing is able to find one once again as two are now down. That Zip coming out. What they need to do is really just run forward as they're moving all the way down to 11 points with only a little less than the first minute being gone. Quite a strong push from the NightLogic in this beginning.
Yeah, that kind of feels like a death sentence push, and it looks like this Wiper is kind of thinking of diving, but no, the jump is going to go ahead and get down, and Zuka also pursuing as well. We are going to try and see an Ethereal really quick counter push here. They kind of already have all of this bottom right area, but it is low ground. They are going to need to see some picks. They do go down, the Stamper going down to whomever, and as well as this Torpedo really forcing this Rainmaker out of that bottom right area. The Blaster as well, with this bomb from Junior really pushing this Rainmaker, and the hammer throws directly to the face, is going to end Ethereal's push there.
Yeah, unfortunately, they weren't able to get past that ramp, meaning they weren't able to get up to that checkpoint. A very good defense from the NightLogic, as 2 are now down. Ethereal picking up this Rainmaker once again, trying to get it past that ramp. Getting up, not really quite able to find the checkpoint yet, as they do find one, but able to get through that checkpoint, just barely.
And with only 2 on the side of the NightLogic, if they go down any more to, say, Azuka, that would be very, very bad for them. They do. They go ahead in the Blaster, and as well as the Wiper, someone needs to pick up this Rainmaker and start going forward. It's only the Junior. Can the Junior stop this alone? Oh my gosh, Blaster from spawn.
Quite the death sentence. You see that spawn being right there makes it very difficult unless you have total control, which unfortunately Ethereal did not. So they were not able to get that lead, but were able to get a very good push, which is putting the pressure on NightLogic.
I'm just feeling the individual infuriation here from, it was just a Junior, but that Blaster respawning and having that instant shot to stop the rain in the tracks must be very, like, catching you off guard, especially when you think it's only a Junior there. It's just the rain pedestal is so close to spawn that they're really able to pressure as soon as they drop. It looks like right now, though, we do have 2 specials that are charged up, as well as we're kind of pushing their plat. When with 3 down and the wipeout on the side of Ethereal, they're going to try and be able to do it again. The Zuka getting popped, does not quite find any, but they have control of the spinner and can probably punish drops here. They do.
The Rainmaker having to back up and does go down to that hammer throw, but not before 3 go down on the side of the NightLogic. That Blaster just fighting for their life is able to get that splash on and find that Stamper. That Carbon just trying their best to hold there at the jump, coming in as well, going down. 3 down now on the side of Ethereal. What a flip.
Yeah, they really won that fight with that flanking Blaster. The splashdown taking out the Stamper was very huge for that hold. And now they're able to stall the Rainmaker really wherever they want to. Many good spots on this stage, but right now we are also close to cooler as well. How is this not a Rainmaker free zone is just all I'm thinking right now.
But with little less than a minute left in this game, they will not be able to stall for as long as they will have to move at some point, but they do go down to Azuka from that shot. Movement up now is able to find that Wiper as well, but they were cooler, so they will be back quite fast. You see that Carbon not picking it up, their teammate able as they find one, but a Stamp is online and ready from that Wiper, who's just sitting on that top left waiting. Which is a very smart play right now as we see them maybe, oh, they do go down the Rainmaker. That Stamp is gone as they're just trying their best to rush for 2 down. So many bombs coming out. Will they be able to find that? That Blaster poking from top left does get the trade. Unfortunately, it is now just the Stamper for Ethereal, and I don't know how much they're going to be able to do with a little less than 10 seconds left.
Oh, with a jump baiting, they are able to get one, and Stamper has a lot of object damage, so thought about going for the pop there, but does go ahead and die to the hammer. Hammer getting an amazing double and then also just camping all these jumps. It's really just the shot jumping in, and that will be a win for the NightLogic, tying it back up to 2-2.
Quite an intense match. I really thought Ethereal had it at that second, but that Blaster was able to just defend off their spawn. Quite a difficult situation for Ethereal, and good pushes and holds overall for both teams. But the NightLogic was able to just get that little more in their push, which allowed them to secure that win.
Yep, absolutely. This Carbon really didn't know where to go. I'm seeing this replay, like, I know they wanted to go up in Shark, but the Rainmaker shield was kind of in the way there.
Very strong offensive defense from both sides. Just unfortunate, those spamming of bombs from the Junior. I know it all too well from a Junior on my own team, so...
Hey, same.
Yeah. Just like, you know what to do? Roll bomb. You want another? Here you go.
Bombs? Lamp oil? You want some?
They're yours, my friend.
I'm so glad you knew. I'm so glad. Oh my gosh. So now we're going to be going back to splat zones for the first time this set, and with a complete tie 2-2, there's really no positive momentum on either team's direction, I would say. Of course, last time the NightLogic were able to win on zones as well as winning this last Rainmaker game. So maybe slight favor in their advantage, in their direction, but really it's still anyone's set as well, this zones map is going to be a lot different because Mako March starts as a huge zone at the beginning, whereas Mahi's like way smaller.
Oh yeah. Mahi was the infamous first Reef Slider solo cap, so Mako being that big difference, of course no one has Reef Slider, but Mako being that bigger zone is going to make it harder for someone to try to solo cap if they are functionally left alone due to their teams going 3 down. So it'll be interesting to see how they plan to circumvent that here.
Yeah, especially because it's a cross shape. It's kind of weird. You have to really paint those little extra squares because just one of those being the opponent's team's color can kind of stop you from getting that initial cap.
Especially with that little pillow in the center, it makes it hard for anyone to just like run through that zone with, like, say, a stamp. They'd have to go around that little pillow. So you see a crab coming out. Interesting. And dually sculptures, not something you see very often.
Yeah, we're going from double Zuka to no Zuka on the side of Ethereal, not really wanting to play Zuka on this map, I suppose. We are Splash goes down and instantly to that Junior's bomb, just tries to use the jump for more height and pays for it. That is going to be a first cap for the Night Logic.
Night Logic seems to have a very good grasp of what they need to do for zone, as we see a Drinks coming out from the side of Ethereal from that pencil, but the zone does go straight back to the Night Logic with a Trouble coming out, just protecting that zone. A Crab as well coming out, trying to get some picks. He isn't quite able to find anyone yet, as we see 2 go down as I say that. My goodness, and the zone is flipped to Ethereal.
I'm just so confused how that even happened because we had Stamper POV and we also had one other person down. Like, I guess the Duelist Vultures must have gotten a double, but here we have showing that was just a quick penalty because they have zone back and they also have the mana advantage as well. A huge play there. How did they get that pick? The Duelist Vultures clearly having an extremely good game thus far. Unfortunately, that wave is going to be a bit stranded as this Crab tries to shred the bubble, but we have no real paint on the zone and not enough to even try to get a neutral, that's for sure. Okay, as I say that.
Now, yeah. But 2 does go down on Ethereal, meaning they aren't able to find that flip as the zone comes back to Night Logics and everyone just poking at those dually sculptures, not able to find their way in, as we see have a special online from that Blaster, a splashdown. Will they be able to use it or will they go down? Let's see. A Stamp ready, the Zip trying, as one goes down on each side. Will that Stamp be able to get the zone painted? Not quite yet. You see that Pencil trying their best to poke through as the zone just back and forth, but that Splashdown coming down with that paint buff, just painting that zone right back up. But the zone does get flipped back to Ethereal.
Yeah, and this is going to be a huge penalty rather than like the much smaller like 20.1 where they were really able to just recap, get a few kills, and get all the way down to 8. This huge penalty is going to feel monumentous for the rest of the game. We do have the Sharking Wiper with a hammer all the way behind. Does not see at all. This Pencil's going to get jump scared, and suddenly the team has to deal with a hammer behind them. They do manage to take it out, though, without going anyone else down, which is really good.
3 down on the side of Night Logic, allowing Ethereal to have just a better hold that putting a Sprinkler down and maybe be able to warn them next time that Viper is coming behind. You see 1 go down on each side, 2 on that right stack from each team, just trying their best to get that hold. As 2 goes down on Ethereal and everyone is up on Night Logic, that Pencil just trying their best to hold the zone area.
Hammer Throw as well, going to go ahead and take out that Pencil. That is going to be no cooler on the side of Ethereal. And those 2 deaths are going to matter a lot more as Ethereal goes down 3.
Just sharking behind that block, trying their best to hide, praying for dear life as that Crab is coming online and is about to be used by the Lycleos. We see it being popped as that Blaster's just poking underneath that drop. The penalty slowly ticking down, only 20 points left on that penalty. Will Ethereal be able to get in? A Zip coming out, the Blaster going down. Will they be able to find this paint with 10 points left on that penalty? Will the zone get flipped? It does, putting 48 more points on Night Logic's penalty.
Yeah, the Zip did enough. Everyone was really looking at that Zip, and it allowed the remaining 3 of Ethereal to give back that penalty. We're going to see a lot more fights in mid still, though, as this Blaster goes down after using Splashdown, trying to cap and really hold that zone. Hammer coming out here. He's going to go ahead and get the Splash and Stamper. We only have Dually Squelchers left. Hammer Throw narrowly missing that Pencil, but the Sharking Dually Squelchers do exist here over on this pillow. We don't really know yet, and it looks like we're going to see them pop out now and go ahead and take out that Headed. and that is going to alert pretty much everyone. Come look at me.
Viper and the Crab, will they be able to? Who wins this fight? It does look like that Splash is able to win. As 2 go down on Night Logic, is this Ethereal's time to be able to take that zone back? Maybe. Yes, it is.
Huge zone moment. No, this Dualies Vultures has clearly been, I would say, the right choice. They've been popping off this entire game, which has been incredible. Their team not quite able to have lead, but they have had so many strong plays. We're going to jump out with this Crab, hopefully to get a retake and start an overtime here, because Ethereal's really going to need that many picks from this Crab as well as zone cap in these next 30 seconds.
See that bubble getting shredded, but June coming out from the side of Night Logic, allowing them to come back if they die quickly. Drinks from the side of Ethereal as well as they do get that zone. 1 goes down on Night Logic. Ethereal trying to find more picks, but that Splash does go down, which means no Crab anytime soon. That Junior in zone just rolling bombs, getting paint down, doing what it's meant to do. You see the zone just going back and forth, going back to Night Logic with 3 seconds left. Another flip to neutral. Will they be able to get it? They are not, which meaning this game goes to the Night Logic.
Yeah, and that is going to be them being up 3-2 in the set, solidifying their dominance on zones now here, winning both zones. And, I mean, hey, if it goes to a game 9 and you're the Night Logic, you've got to be really thankful that we're starting and ending on zones. But now we're going to see Clam Blitz yet again for game 6.
Be interesting to see if the Night Logic is going to allow, hopefully not the same thing to happen where that overtime 3 clams in, but we'll see. Maybe Ethereal will just be able to get a better push in the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. We saw a lot of that in the last game. I would say that it's really going to depend on map, though. I think that Pencil is pretty terrible on Mako, and honestly, backlines in general are just pretty difficult to play on Mako, and so it makes sense that Ethereal overall wasn't quite able to overcome that, because Headit's way more flexible and can kind of go fight anywhere on this map, but Pencil, you get really stranded. And I'm thinking that that's probably going to change for this next map mode, Clam Blitz Scourge, where I think Pencil's going to be a lot more dominant here.
Oh yes. As a Pencil player myself, I have to say, just sitting on that top tower, you can reach basically anywhere on those elbows. Just be like, hey, guess what? Pencil. So, it'll definitely be interesting to see if Ethereal is able to get the advantage on this with their longer range. But it'll be interesting to see, because they do have Night Logic has a few weapons that could just run down that Pencil. As we've seen, those stamp throws are certainly a beast for that Pencil, going down to them quite a few times. So it'll be interesting to see how everything turns out here.
Yeah, and I think I would say that what you just mentioned is also, I would say, hyper stressed on Clam Blitz, because if that Pencil is just holding the ball, hoping for, of course, the team to get the picks necessary to be able to walk forward and score it, that just allows, once again, those aggro weapons to try and go just get the pick on the Pencil to kind of end the push and just make other people look at that ball to make sure it doesn't just despawn. Because if they don't, they could just lose out on a push entirely. So that also will make people rush Pencil in this mode if you play like that.
Yeah, interesting.
We're back to double Zuka on the side of Ethereal, as well as bringing out Splashdown Nautilus, trying to beam this blaster before they get their own Splashdown out.
Definitely fun. So Ninja Squid on one of those weapons. I didn't quite see which it was, but we see 2 immediately running for that tower. That 2 getting a trade between the blaster and the knot. Especially
yeah, no splashdowns.
No splashdowns for anyone. That Pencil just trying to get paint down, poking at others, as getting their drinks out as well as the edit goes down, which means no drinks for the Night Logic.
Yeah, this bubble is having to be so defensive, and it does help though with the Div8. We do have a hammer also getting popped and 2 go down on Ethereal, and that's going to allow Night Logic to kind of try and reclaim mid, but the blaster does get punished for peeking. There's the Pencil's dominance. Headed is not killing a blaster from all the way over there.
See the Viper just hugging under, doing what Vipers do best on those ledges, trying their best to just find some picks. That Zuka trying to focus them, but is not able to find anyone, unfortunately. The clam economy seems very good for the Night Logic, but not as much for Ethereal, so it'll be interesting to see how they plan to use this here.
You go ahead and make a ball and get a pick with that bomb, and another one with the shot being here should mean that we can take that elbow, but the Zuka is going to come out, gets countered by the bubble, and that is going to allow the Night Logic to get their first score of the game.
Logic able to find quite a few clams and already down to 59, which means it's less than that 2 ball, which is very good for the beginning, but we've seen that's not always the case for a win. So hopefully they'll be able to find more balls and more pushes in later. But we see that Pencil is doing what they do best and getting up on that tower, getting some pain down and pokes in, is able to find the blaster and that Carbon rushing for that elbow, trying to find more picks, but does unfortunately go down as Ethereal goes 2 down. Azuka coming out, but has not been able to find anyone. That Pencil trying their best to just poke, but does unfortunately hop up for a little bit of a second just to avoid that torpedo.
Yeah, we've got so many aggro weapons from the Night Logic here in mid. We have some clams on the side of Ethereal, but we do go down with them, and this is just the collapse from the Night Logic. Really had a good control of mid there. Not sure what we were quite doing from Ethereal. Maybe the Pencil jumping out, just being in distress, but we also have the Hammer now out and getting 2. That is going to allow this push to go forever because we have 3 clams on Snipe that are getting scored. That is a full reset of the timer and the wiper on Snipe for the Night Logic. Okay, they go down and the push is over, but you know.
The Edge trying their best to back out, is able to jump out before the Carbon finds, but getting down to 29 points is a very strong lead for the Night Logic, solidifying themselves.
And it's also with only a 25 penalty. They're not out of the game for scoring this game yet.
Interesting to see how Ethereal tries to circumvent this and get those points in themselves. But that Pencil not able to find that high ground yet, being afraid of those aggro weapons as they probably should be, as they're harassing them this whole game, as 2 go down on the side of Night Logic, 2 go down on the side of Ethereal. Very back and forth for these 2 teams.
This Pencil very having difficulty really being able to fight a wiper dropping bottom left and is opting instead to go get Cooler. I do think that is the correct play, but we need some support for the Pencil if we are going to have these bottom left drops, and we have it. The Carbon Shark from behind was able to get one as well as support another. We do now have Azuka coming out, but we still have mid on the side of the Night Logic, so this Azuka is just needing to blind shot to try and get those kills. We don't quite have the paint that we need to as Ethereal to be able to get mid.
It's important to see that 2 go down on the side of the Night Logic, 3 down, now 4, a full wipe. This is the time for Ethereal to move in and get those clams in. You see that shot moving in, able to find that first one and just getting picked. They jump in with the pity as well, able to get it down to 60, but they're going to need more than that if they want to get this lead. Which they don't have that many clams now, as it's now just the Nautilus with those clams, but a bubble coming out, a splash as well, not able to find anyone. The Pencil, really the last one left, is not going to be able to get back in, which means this push is dead.
I was laughing to myself there. We just have 3 jumps all on the ramp, and the Night Logic is not able to really put any pressure or punish it, though we do have the Carbon going forward immediately, gets kind of covered by the shot. I'm not going to lie, the shot really covering for the teammate there, going to allow Night Logic to go 2 down, and Ethereal to get another push going. They get another, and this Pencil is trying to get this ball in now. They do, and with Splashdown able to take out another. That is no bubble on the side of the Night Logic. The Zuka, they just keep going down. It's only the Wiper under the basket to help, and they almost get lead, but do not quite get it.
Ooh, just need those 3 more clams, but the Pencil is nowhere to be found, meaning, once again, they are not able to get that lead, but it is very close. The penalty only being 19 just means they need a power and like 3 clams to be able to get this lead, but with 15 seconds left and the Night Logic having a power clam, 2 power clams of their own, will they be able to get it? You see Rosetta trying their best to make the ball, is able to find it as 2 specials are online for the Night Logic, so it's going to be a very tough battle for Ethereal to be able to get in here.
Oh, with 1 down, I feel like we have to play, yes, this game exactly. Gets that shark, makes the splashdown pop with no value. Good from the Carbon, but they are going to have to somehow slip behind and get a jump in at this point. They don't really have mid, and it's going to, with such a short timer and 3 balls, they need to go now. Now, they do get 1, but go ahead and go 2 down, and that is going to be the end of the Blitz overtime. Night Logic are going to go up 4-2 over Ethereal.
That match point for the Night Logic. Ethereal's probably thinking, alright, what can we do now? Because that was a very close game with multiple good pushes, just not really able to get those clams in as the clan economy was unfortunately failing, not being able to have as many as they really needed to get that good push lead.
Yeah, I would say so many times that tower as well in mid just kind of prevented Ethereal from taking all of it and being able to really just start watching for drops.
Night Logic having such a good push in the very beginning, getting them all the way down to 29 was definitely what helped secure their lead. They're having very good first pushes, and it didn't help them out this time that they're able to get so low. they had been able to, I think Ethereal would have been able to have this on lock with there's two very strong pushes, but unfortunately with so little time left, Ethereal was just not able to find that third push that they needed.
Yeah, they really, you're right, they really did have two super strong pushes, but Night Logic just had even stronger. I don't remember if it was 2 or 3, but they were stronger.
Yeah. Close game between these two, but now it's got to be Ethereal has to find some momentum from what they've lost and just try to move back forward if they want to move on to these finals. If it's now match point.
Yeah, they'll have to take 3 straight games, which the Night Logic has just done, which will be very difficult to answer back as Ethereal here.
It's definitely been done before, so maybe they'll be able to pull it off, but it'll be interesting to see how they plan to do it, as this pencil has been struggling, just trying to find the right positioning, but not quite able to do it from this aggro on the other team, just holding them out. So those teammates are probably going to have to help them a little bit more just so they can get in the positions they need to be able to paint and get those crossfires in.
Yeah, and on ShipShape, you do have a pretty great sightline of the entirety of court and a lot of where check 1 is from pretty dang far back. You can put that pressure on as Pencil, both painting and both tapping people for like 68, 70 damage is really strong for combo numbers. So maybe we will be able to see a comeback here from Ethereal. We are getting into the game here in just about 12 seconds, so I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be interesting to see how they plan to try and pull this off, because ShipShape definitely is a very big and open map, which is great for pencils, so...
Yeah, I'm also looking towards Blaster. I feel like Blaster and AoE weapons as in general just get an objective buff when covering the objective, because they just kind of shoot towards the objective, and if someone was not ready for that, they die.
See Stamper coming back out from the side of Ethereal, that very strong one-man army, as we see the same comp coming out for the Night Logic with that very strong, we know what we're doing comp, so... Definitely interesting to see what happens here.
Yeah, and we're already so close to a bubbler. Like, we could just go on tower and pop that if we wanted to. We do have just a lot of bombs being thrown out here in mid. They do go ahead and put that bubble on tower. The Stamper rushes it and goes down to that Junior, plus others helping that defense. They have a lot of the paint control here, but the Wiper does go down as well as the Blaster before really being able to secure that first check. Junior trying to do it alone can, because the Pencil is having trouble getting this, and with the jump is going to go ahead and get check 1 for the Night Logic.
Ethereal went 3 down on each side, but that Babel just holding that defensive position. It looks like Night Logic is going to head straight for that second check. As 2 try to take that back area, the Wiper does go down, but we see a splashdown ready from that Blaster. They do end up using it and do find 2. Looks like no one on the tower quite yet, as the tower just moved back from the checkpoint slightly, but we see those dudes ready with the crab in those backs, finding that Wiper. And the Pencil just trying to poke from all these areas. The Pencil, Night Logic just holding the check as hard as they can, but not quite being able to find it yet.
Yeah, we do now have a Zip online as well as Cooler, but we have Bubble really being able to hold mid and goes ahead and helps with that team fight to win against the Carbon as well, putting the 4v3 man advantage plus a Blaster with Splashdown is going to look like the Night Logic can just kind of get back on tower. They do unfortunately go 2 down though to Ethereal's defense, but that is going to still require them to kind of shark out here to be able to reset mid.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this Shark waiting just for that, the tower to come back. No one seems to be quite where yet, as 2 on that tower. The Carbon is able to find that edit. Will they be able to find another? It doesn't look like they do not before going down themselves, with the Stamper moving up. Paint coming out from both sides, just trying to move forward and get that tower past that middle point, as Ethereal has not been able to get any points on the board yet. A Stamp coming out from that right side.
Yeah, and this Julius doesn't quite know that there is someone behind them. The Blaster, they do evacuate, but they're kind of surrounded. They do get 1 and 2, though. That is going to allow them to be able to back up, luckily, and be able to use this crab for the team's defense, though.
Yeah, definitely very interesting. Night Logic just able to keep holding and pushing this tower forward. As the crab comes out, we just see them trying their best to get Night Logic down, a few players to be able to move forward. As 2 do go down as I say that. Looks like
and 1 jumping out. That's leaving it like a 3v1 in mid, and they do go ahead and clean up that Wiper. We do have a Zipcaster online, but choosing to not really use it. quite yet. Wants to get the cooler. The Zuka going to take out the Headit, and that means a very, very slow cooler on the side of the Night Logic, but it looks like it's not going to matter as Ethereal goes 3 down.
We see a jump coming into that tower, but will not be able to help just in time as 2 go down on the side of Ethereal. A Stamp coming out as well, but does go down to that Stamper. Has a zip online. Will they be using it soon? Let's see. The bubble does end up getting shredded. The first bomb's coming out for that combo with that pencil as 2 now go down with the blaster going down to the Stamper as well.
That is a great Headit punish there on the wipe on the Stamper that wanted to get onto tower, and we are going to see only really a crab here for defense. Once again, they have so much pain up the Night Logic on mid and both of the the stacks, top left and top right. A bomb going to go ahead and take out that crab tank, and Hammer being popped here on the Night Logic is also going to get one as well, leaving only the pencil popping cooler on the side of Ethereal. This is going to let the Night Logic go all the way to basically the final check here, uncontested, and there's going to be a lot of fights at the top left and in court soon.
You see the Carbon hopping on the tower, trying to find the pick, is not able to find one, but that Stamper able to follow up, getting that Junior down as Pencil finding another as that Buster trying their best. Does end up being a delayed wipe as their teammates are not trying to rush in. With a little less than a minute left, will Ethereal be able to find this push they need to get this win? We'll see.
Stamper's kind of a little bit slow on ink, low on ink, and the Carbon is going to go down, unable to really help there as he was out of ink. The Stamper for the Carbon friend still has a zip, but is choosing to just hold it. Needs to win this fight and go ahead and try and get the backline. Does win the fight and does also pop zip, gets the backline, gets that double, and now we have a Junior behind the tower is killing everyone.
It's unfortunate wipeout against Ethereal as they're rushing and trying their best with a little over 10 seconds left. Will they be able to get back on this tower as they special the bubble going online, but does unfortunately go down. You see that Stamper rushing for that tower, Azuka coming out as well. Will they be able to find anyone? That Edit getting ready to punch that Stamper who's rushing forward. They are not able to find that tower, meaning this is a game and set win for the Night Logic.
Yeah, the Night Logic are going to advance to finals in Div8 and try to take the crown all for themselves.
Definitely very strong games from both teams. The Night Logic just able to pull out, being able to have that more aggressive and more like just be able to get those picks. So very, very good games from both teams, and congratulations to Night Logic to be able to move on to these finals.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing them in the future, and I wish them best in the finals. So that is going to wrap up this set. I will go ahead and ask Dino, do you have any thoughts on this last game as we have these last plays?
I will say Night Logic had a very good hold basically that entire game, as Ethereal was really only able to push it to that first check, but never able to get past it. So very good defense and offense from the Night Logic, that Junior and the Wiper Blaster combo, just able to get those chips needed for that Edit, just be able to finish it up. So very strong comp, and I anticipate to be able to see it in the finals for Div8. Congratulations to both teams once again.
Yeah, absolutely. That is pretty great insight, I'm not gonna lie. And that leaves Payback is going to be the Night Logic's opponent in finals.
Be very interesting to watch, so definitely make sure to tune in for those finals eventually.
For sure. And as we are wrapping up, Dino, where can the lovely people of the stream find you?
You can find me at NotDino Blue Sky Social on Blue Sky, or NotDino with a 0 _ on Twitch.tv. And where we can find you, Brave?
I don't really have a Blue Sky, but I am on Twitter at Brave_SSB. Don't post really that much. Most of posts, honestly, just going to be liking and retweeting my team, Team Magnolia. That's all I would say for the shout out. And with that, I think we are ready to go ahead and move on here.
Make sure
Thank
to
you
stay
for tuning
tuned.
in.
Make sure to stay tuned because in a few minutes we will be having the Div9 set Shadow Agents for Siphonophoric. So if you want to keep watching Splatoon, make sure to stick around for that.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to go ahead and switch out the commentators now. Thanks, and stay tuned.
You are tasked with the most covert assignment to date. The time has come to pull the threads on the tapestry woven at the peak. Move swiftly and leave no trace. The descent must be graceful but inevitable. Those who ascended have forgotten the lessons of the climb. They believe their position is unattainable. Remind them that all heights are temporary. As a trusted member of our clandestine association, you are uniquely positioned to execute this mission. To ensure the fall is as precise as the rise was swift.
Hello everybody and welcome back to LUTI tonight here on Splatoon Tourney. My name is Hammy, I'm joined by DHVF and we have our Div9W semi-finals match for you. Shadow Ancients versus Siphonophoric. Which team will be facing Steralia in the finals? We're going to find that out just here today in the next hour. Before I get ahead of myself, DHVF, how you doing today?
I am doing great here as we are getting into some intense LUTI playoff action. We're here. Like, we've waited.
Well, DH has turned into a robot, unfortunately, and disappeared, as does tend to happen. But yes, Shadow Ancients versus Siphonophoric is going to be our upcoming set. Both of these teams have made it all the way through to the semifinals. Now, interestingly enough, both of these teams have the same record in the playoffs. Both teams having a 5-0 sweep and having a 5-2 victory. So kind of an even matchup potentially here coming into this match.
Yeah, I think that with Div9 in particular, like, once you get to, like, the playoffs here, like, these are the teams that have slipped through the cracks of the LUTI seeding council. Like, these are the underseeded teams that you're going to see around, like, playing in low-ing, playing in these, like, higher level events. And these are going to be some really exciting stuff. Like, I know that Siphonophoric, like, I've played with some of their players in the past. They have a very excellent Dread player. And yeah, they are going to be a force to reckon with. Shadow Ancients, also a little less familiar with, but I mean, they've gotten this far. I think we're going to be in for a really nice game today.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of those fun things with these lower division matches is you're going to see a lot of interesting stuff coming out. I was looking at, the Sendo pages of these teams, and Siphonophoric does like to run a lot of non-conventional weapons. Like the Dreadringer you're talking about, like the Bamboozler, a lot of brushes. Though I guess Bamboozler has been kind of making a comeback in some of the higher levels. But in Shadow Ancients as well, I was looking, and they actually got to playoffs off of a 3-way tie for second. So they are really utilizing that chance that they've been given by the tiebreaker and making their way up to semifinals, and they're looking to continue that push today. But we are getting into our match very, very soon. There's less than a minute left as we are starting. So let's look at our first match of the day, which is going to be Mahi Mahi Resort Splat Zones.
I'm very interested to see what these teams can do. This map, you can get KO'd instantly, but if you can get it to a nice drawn-out game where both teams are exchanging caps on zone, like, it can be very intense. I think if we see one team run away with it early on, it could be a very interesting tone setter here. This is a map that is very harsh on retake. It can be very problematic if you get too impatient, if you drop early. So very interested to see how these teams approach it. And it looks like we are going to get into it here. Game 1, Mahi Zones.
Loading into game one, Mahi Zones, a map notorious for having a major shift in the middle with that water level changing, allowing players to have a second opportunity to get back in. Looking at both sides, both teams bringing in an S-Blast as well as a Pencil, so very similar stuff here. It's really going to come down to how those last two weapons on each side is going to utilize those strengths and weaknesses to outplay the other team as we get into this match already. Two players of Siphonophoric down, but they do get control.
Yeah, you saw both the Decav and the S-Blast and Siphonophoric go down pretty quickly. Those are going to be some really high-octane weapons that have a lot of playmaking potential, but right now, Siphonophoric keeps going down. You see the Dread go down, the S-Blast go down again. They haven't really gotten settled in yet. Here's Stego on the Pencil trying to survive that whale there. Watch that flank. Oh, they are managing to watch it there as the S-Blast cleans stuff up there. And so Shadow Ancients gets nice control here. You see that Crab in zone is going to run out. Korn on the Doolies trying to pressure the S-Blast behind Snipe, but they are going to back up there. So Shadow Ancients settling very nicely to start this game.
Shadow Ancients already getting that water drop in. Already Siphonophoric going in with a slider to cap the zone, apply the penalty, but unfortunately Mirror has to jump out to not get picked off. So once again, Shadow Ancients are in control, but Siphonophoric now have more space on the map to take with that added ground from the shift. There is the map going in their favor, getting two down. Shadow Ancients having to push their players back into their base to regroup, but Neku didn't get the memo, trying to fight by themselves, but does manage to escape, and the team now has to regroup.
Yeah, and this is where the games are won, Mahi. That the water has dropped already, and right now Shadow Ancients needs to go towards a full retake. It can get ugly if they are impatient here, as two do go down there, although two go down the side of Siphonophoric as well. Three go down there. The Brush cleaning up things nicely in mid, and Shadow Ancients is going to retake right before Siphonophoric gets the lead. Great retake there to get settled in.
That's a perfect time for Shadow Ancients to get that control back, not letting that lead flip over. As much as they are about to start counting down, it does help with the morale to not let the other team get any footing. Already halfway towards a KO here is Shadow Ancients in the Aqua. Now, Siphonophoric have to find a way to break in, but they're losing members one by one. They need to group up and they need to get some specials. They have a Reef Slider ready now. They're going to need to utilize that tool.
Yeah, keep an eye on the S-Blast here, poking the left side. They have a Booyah Bomb ready. As the restarter comes in, it does not cap, and it gets punished. So now Siphonophoric, two down. They need to scramble quickly. That penalty stick out there, just holding the Booyah Bomb there. They throw it at Plat. Here comes the counter Booyah Bomb on zone. Are they there to paint it? They contest it, and they manage to cap it. Wow, I thought that was going to end in a KO, but Siphonophoric makes a mad scramble for zone, and they actually managed to get it and kind of settle in there. They didn't all go down after that, so now they can potentially get a really nice counter push here. Here comes the reslider from Mir. Doesn't look like it's going to find one as the pencil jumps out, but Shadow Ancients is going to have to retake again here. They're not quite out of the clear yet.
So Shadow Ancients have the time to spend here to get ready. Popping a crab from Korn is going to push the players of Siphonophoric off of the zone, but the rest of the team isn't able to follow up, going three down. Korn's the last one alive and in an awkward spot. They do manage to get the pick onto Juice. Here comes Neku to back them up. A bit of a scramble from Shadow Ancients. With the time and the space they had from that lead, you thought they'd have a more coordinated push, but once again, they can't find any value. Siphonophoric are looking to KO here as they pick off Psy, and with only 3 ticks left, Korn by themselves has to do something. The zone flipped, but not fast enough. And Siphonophoric from behind take game one.
Amazing comeback by Siphonophoric, both to cap that zone at 2. I did not think they were going to get into that, but they somehow managed to make it work. And then taking the momentum from that cap and going all the way to their own KO. Like, they took advantage of Shadow Ancients' impatience there, dropping on retake, being a little staggered. And they managed to come all the way back to take game one. A huge momentum boost in a pretty back and forth game where both teams look pretty good at various points in the game.
Yeah, like you said, it was a bit of a back and forth. Both teams kind of brought the score within 1 or 2 points of each other a couple times. And yeah, you get back to that cap where Siphonophoric finally captured with 2 points left. I don't think Shadow Ancients expected them to cap either. We saw the Booyah Bomb come in from Juice, and then Mirror with that Dreadringer ran in the left side to help paint with the Booyah Bomb. And nobody from Shadow Ancients looked at the zone. They were in range. Some of them were dodging the Booyah Bomb, but like I don't think they realized that the zone was going to flip that quickly. I think that they were focusing and trying to buy some space and keep away Siphonophoric, which ultimately may have lost them that game. So they're going to need to be aware of the objective. Now going into game 2, Barnacle, Dime, Clam Blitz, sorry. The objective is going to be a lot different. It's going to be mobile, and there's going to be a lot of clams to work with. So managing that economy is going to be key.
Yeah, absolutely. Both these teams have shown that they can play at a very fast pace. You saw the zone flip back and forth, like when it felt like these teams were still kind of trying to regroup on plat. Like they can attack fast, and that's what we need to do on Barnacle and Dime clams here. You need to run to those plats as soon as you can, to hold that space for as long as you can to get the sustained pushes. It's yeah, I mean, like, it's honestly one that could also go either way. A lot of momentum swings for this map particular. But yeah, I'm interested to see if Shadow Ancients can rebound there. I mean, it really felt like they had that Mahi Zones game locked up. You saw that the S-Blast was just holding that Booyah Bomb, waiting for the time to tick down. But, I mean, they threw it at plat instead of the zone, because I don't think they were expecting Siphonophoric to retake that fast. And, I mean, they paid for it. I mean, that could have potentially won them the game there. So very interested to see how they can rebound there after a game that kind of felt like it slipped through their grasp. But we'll see here as we move on game 2.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up sustained pushes for Clam Blitz, because that's where one of the big things where things are going to differ here is that in splat zones, they can have those cheese specials like the slider to cap the zone and apply the penalty. Clam Blitz is different. When you push, you need to push as a team, you need to push together, and you need a lot of clams. Only getting one power clam in and breaking is not going to give you a lot of value. So we're going to need to see the teamwork from both sides shine here if they want to win this next game.
We see that brush come back from Shadow Ancients. That's going to be a huge playing potential weapon there for Clam Blitz, where you need to be able to run from one side of the map to the other very fast. Brush excels at that. So we'll see if they can get some value here as we start out game 2. And immediately we see a fight being taken in the left alley. The decav is going to get taken out for Siphonophoric, as well as the S-Blast. So an early fight with Shadow Ancients. Here's the S-Blast trying to poke plat, but they are taken out there. So Siphonophoric holding on the plat to start, which is what you want to see for this map. But so far, it looks like it's still in the favor of Shadow Ancients.
Yes, the map is still painted a little bit more aqua, giving Shadow Ancients some more room to move. But 2 members down may, never mind, right as I say that, 2 members of Siphonophoric go down, giving the control back to Shadow Ancients with those jumps coming in. All 8 players in the middle of the map looking for a key pick or some decisive position to really get them in. But we're looking for some specials right now. That's going to be your key to win here. And 3 members of Shadow Ancients going down. That's going to be control right here for Siphonophoric.
Yeah, you saw the S-Bass kind of pick off the pencil, who's in a greedy position on plat. And right now, you got a bubble set up. You have a power clam ready. You have a lot of clans to your other members there. This could be a devastating push for Siphonophoric. Ooh, what a nice snipe by the S-Blast there to maybe calm things down a bit. But right now, Siphonophoric is right in the midst of their push. It is going to calm down a little bit here as the remaining members are taken out by the basket. But they looks like they are trying their best to maintain mid despite Shadow Ancients rushing back pretty quickly. You see that pencil kind of remain there, gave jumps, let them get set up. It's not going to allow for that big of a counter push going forward here for Shadow Ancients.
Yeah, you're going to need a little bit to get through that threshold. Again, getting past 60 is nice because you need more than just 2 free power clams to get in there. You're going to need to get a sustained run, but with a numbers advantage now, Shadow Ancients starting to get some clam economy, already up to 11, not bad. They have a pity clam as well. Sai opting to go back to make another ball, excuse me. And then now with both teams in the mid, here comes Zebin with that decav trying to reclaim their plat, but goes down unfortunately. And Shadow Ancients in control and pushing forward, already running through. Sai doesn't even care, but there's an S-Blast right there, just breaks the basket and is now going to probably opt to run back get some clams. No, actually decides to stay in and gets traded out by Z-Beam.
Yeah, as you see here, Shadow Ancients takes the lead here. The duo is potentially running back to kind of get settled in, maybe get more clams. They have 4 already, and they're going to throw them in now. As the Booyah comes out here, they might try and jump this pity. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to have enough time, and they're just too far. They almost had it, but Will Corn here, they get the kill there. Will they be able to pick it up in time? They will not there as the basket closes. So could have been even worse for Siphonophoric, but they will gladly escape with just 41 remaining on their own basket as they look to try and get back into mid. You see both that S-Blast and the Brush still on their plat. They need to get them off of there, else Shadow Ancients just going to get another push. They have a clam ready. That Brush also has 6, so they could get started really quickly here. So Siphonophoric needs to play with some urgency right now.
Siphonophoric, though, thankfully to the miscommunication from Shadow Ancients, didn't get that other power clam in. So about 2 power clams is going to get them in the realm of taking the lead. So they have the utility already. They have 2 power clams on the field. They just need to find a position. Here comes a slider from Mir, going to try to give them some space, clearing out the plat of Shadow Ancients, but they still have control of their half of the map. Neku going in on the side, but getting picked off, not able to get the flank they were looking for. So with that Soda coming in from Siphonophoric, they're going to start walking forward, trying to get some picks, but the crab from Korn is going to push away Stego. They have to just back up and respect the space that Shadow Ancients just won back.
Yeah, Shadow Ancients holding strong there. That could have been dangerous if they had let that S-Blaster, that decap, get some couple picks, but they held, and now they're going to start their own counter push. The ball carrier is taken out before they can do it, but here's Korn still there, trying to be a nuisance with these dualies. They allow that ball to be thrown. They have so many clams of their own there, as they could eventually get past this penalty. They're 1 clam away from getting it to a 0 penalty state, but unfortunately they cannot get there. As Siphonophoric cleans up once again, it feels like that they have been on the brink of potentially being knocked out a lot of times here, but they are holding strong. This is a very manageable spot for them if they can get back. I mean, they're staggering a bit here as you see 2 down go with the Dread and the S-Blast. And Shadow Ancients continuing to hold mid really nicely. That pen is set up, it's giving jumps, it's churning out coolers. It's exactly what you want for your pencil player there. As Shadow Ancients once again looks to kind of settle in, get a nice defensive stand. And the 3 down again. This could be another counter push for Shadow Ancients. They're going to look to push in here.
The saving grace for Siphonophoric this game has been the lack of clam economy from Shadow Ancients, but just dropping in 2 power clams with less than 10 seconds left in the game might be the nail in the coffin. The wipeout onto Shadow Ancients from Siphonophoric, but they have to get a lead in overtime past 17. Breaking the basket will get rid of that penalty, so they just need 42 points. But that, I say just 42 as if that's a small number. That's a lot, but they're not even going to be able to break this basket here as Stego goes down. They hit the power clamp, no time left. And with 1 player left, unfortunately, Mir is not going to be able to make that solo play. And Shadow Ancients are going to tie up the set 1-1.
Yeah, phenomenal rebound game from Shadow Ancients after dropping that game on Mahi Zone's game. They controlled that game pretty much from start to finish. There was a couple times where Siphonophoric got a nice push, but I mean, they controlled mid for the grand majority of that game, and the scoreboard reflects that. I mean, they were able to get push after push after push, just lingering there, not giving up plat. Like, they did an excellent job of controlling the pace of that game there.
Yeah, and just as you say, every time that Siphonophoric kind of made a push forward, we didn't see Shadow Ancients really buckle at all. We saw them hold their ground, and Siphonophoric just had to respect it. You know, we would see time and time and again, they would go ahead, and then there's a crab from Korn, like Hebe is there with that S-Blast just blocking some space, or Neku has the brush sharking, and they realize that they aren't going to be able to find success, and they'll just respect it. And I don't think that that's a problem. I don't think that they should be overextending and just getting themselves killed off anyway, but they do need to find a way to really get rid of Shadow Ancients if they want to make a substantial push past 59.
Yeah, like you said, like Shadow Ancients never went 4 down or even 3 down, like on their pushes. They always had someone back in mid, ready to give jumps, ready to keep pain up, ready to prevent like Siphonophoric from just rushing in for free. They did an excellent job of controlling mid there, not overextending, just always having someone there ready to keep the momentum up. They just held that momentum for the entire game, and that I think that's what gave them the win here. But we are moving on to Game 3 with the set tied on Inkblot Tower. I'm very curious to see what they do here, especially with both teams running an S-Blast, something that has taken tower control in particular by storm lately. You see it everywhere nowadays.
Yeah, S-Blast is going to be a very critical key component to both of these comps in tower control. The main weapon, the special, and even the sub in a lot of cases can be great for holding that tower, especially on Inkblot, where you have so many opportunities to get... Oh, I'm upside down. Well, I don't... hello, everybody. Sorry. Okay, yeah, so the S-Blast is going to be a very critical component to the comp, just in all essences, in the map, in the mode, in the weapon kit itself. But we also need to look at some of the other utilities they have. Look at Korn with that dually with the crab. Crab is going to be a nightmare for Siphonophoric if they don't find a good tool to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times these Inkblot Tower games come down to which team's aggressive weapons can rush towards plat, towards bats, and really control that second checkpoint area to get the tower passed out. That's what it comes down to a lot of time. And I think, like, you see, like, Shadow Ancients, they got the Brush, who's been taking a lot of attention. They got the Dualies, who were phenomenal these first 2 games. And I think, like, if they can just draw attention there, make life for their tower rider very easy, like I think this could be a very interesting map for them there. But I mean, on the flip side, you also got the decap, you got the S-Blast and Siphonophoric. I think that they could also play that similar role and just be a nuisance on bats. I think like it's going to come down to which one of these players can be annoying there, can take space, take attention. So very interesting as we're going to get into game 3 momentarily.
Yeah, getting into game 3 as both teams have readied up. I'm wondering if we're going to see any weapon changes. We didn't see any adjustments from game 1 going into game 2, and already we see multiple adjustments from each side, actually. Well, actually, no, I say multiple. You've seen 2 for the side of Shadow Ancients, 1 for the side of Siphonophoric. So a little bit of a different game coming into game 3.
Yeah, you look at that Octobrush being when placed to decap for the first 2 games for Siphonophoric. That could be very interesting since Zip can be very strong in those bats areas. And also the 52, who does go down pretty early to the pencil. That could also be a game changer for Shadow Ancients here, as 2 go down on each side to start, still getting settled in. Here comes the Zipcaster from that aforementioned brush. They're going to try and find something here. They're looking at tower as Shadow Ancients going to try and maybe get something pushier as they lean towards that left stack, but it's not going to amount to anything just quite yet.
It's not going to get up to that checkpoint, so the push hasn't really gathered them much, but keeping the space is Shadow Ancients, so they still have opportunities here, but they need to get rid of the players of Siphonophoric, able to capitalize on that Reef Slider coming in from Mirror. Corn now coming up on this left side flank, looking for some value, trying to paint up, but nobody else is on the tower.
Meanwhile, the S-Blast is just wreaking havoc on Plat. They managed to get a couple, including that pencil, but unfortunately they are going to take him down, and Shadow Ancients 2 down. They're going to have to stop their push momentarily, but they still have nice control of mid. Edit is going to try and get checkpoint. Ill-advised decision there, so they get taken out very quickly. And right now, Siphonophoric, they're whittling it down. It could have been dangerous there with that S-Blast getting those picks on their Plat, but they're starting to get control of mid again. They're starting to rush forward towards that first checkpoint, so it could be interesting, maybe the start of a longer push here.
Yeah, they're looking to get a longer push, already getting that lead, though it's not very substantial as both teams still at that first checkpoint, unable to get it. Corn on that crab is able to pressure the tower just enough. The tower's going to start rolling back to mid. Almost 2 minutes in, and neither team has gotten a checkpoint, but with the wipeout Siphonophoric, they're looking to finally break through.
Yeah, and that S-Blast very quick to take the bats, as well as the brush dude cleans up the people trying to punch that Booyah. That's 2 down. That's a very pivotal fight won by Siphonophoric there, as now the Dread has joined them on bats. This could be very ugly there, as Sego on tower is just completely just riding for free. There's no one contesting them right now, as the other 3 of Siphonophoric have cleaned up that area very nicely. They get past second checkpoint, a very hard checkpoint to get past without any contest whatsoever. Corn trying to maybe drop down here, take some fights there, and 2 go down around them. They are still trying to draw attention against Mirror on the Dread Ringer there. That fight is going to stall, and they are eventually going to get the kill on Mirror, so maybe to stop things. Cybud rushes into mid, but is punished, and Shadow Ancients is 2 down again. They just need to find their footing. Almost get a reset here quickly, as right now it's just the Edit on tower. They're going to be rushed down there, as they managed to get the Octobrush and survive a little longer. That's something that Shadow Ancients desperately needed there, to kind of just settle in, get Taint back in mid, get settled back in on Plat, and maybe get a comeback here to start.
Yeah, Sane on that head, it lived for a lot longer than we might have expected. Again, getting a pick, as you mentioned there, and giving Shadow Ancients a little bit of space to get back. But Siphonophoric still have control of this map. It's a little bit too green if you're a fan of Shadow Ancients, so you're looking to kind of find a little bit more map control. And they don't really have any specials either. Hebe somehow living through that slider despite sitting directly next to it. I believe the player did get picked off, and now with 2 members down, Siphonophoric are getting pushed back. Shadow Ancients finally getting control of the map. Minute and a half left. Still plenty of time to make a pretty good push, but no! Already just ZB coming in and shutting both of them down and just locking out that corner.
You saw Shadow Ancients trying to do what Siphonophoric just did to them there, and take that bats, be fast, be aggressive, but the Octobrush, ZB in there just completely shutting them down, and just like that, they are back to square one. And actually, it looks like that Siphonophoric is going to try and start pushing again off that momentum on defense there, trying to turn that defense into offense. As here comes a Zip on bats. It's going to find Corn there, and S+ coming down as well. Sai on the other end gets a kill to maybe neutralize some stuff on that Dreadringer, but right now they got to be worried about playing defense yet again as they keep going down. There's 2 down yet again for Shadow Ancients. Hebe on the S+ trying to find a kill there on Stego. Gets it eventually, but not before the Reef comes in from the top rope to take them out there. They have got it all the way at 3rd checkpoint now. 2 down on both sides, so maybe kind of stagnating here, but they have people on tower. ZB is running forward, taking attention, gets a nice trade there that allows Siphonophoric to get past that checkpoint. 2 down, 3 down on Siphonophoric, and it's a wipeout. So Siphonophoric barely just falls short of the knockout there, and Shadow Ancients, they got a long way to go if they want to come back and eventually take game 3 here.
It's barely not a knockout, but in the eyes of Siphonophoric, it's essentially a KO. All they have to do is just hold out on one overtime push from Shadow Ancients. And like we talked before, there's an S-Blast. You get a Booyah ready, you tell your team to rush the tower with that Booyah, and there's not much Shadow Ancients is going to be able to do, and they don't even need it. As soon as the overtime starts, just walking straight on the tower, and that's going to be a game up now for Siphonophoric.
Yeah. Siphonophoric answers back yet again after a rough game 2 where they got punched in the mouth. They punch right back. They take the lead in this set with a dominant game where it just felt like all 4 members of Siphonophoric were clicking, especially when they pushed up onto plat, onto bats. It felt like they were playing off each other so well. They really left Shadow Ancients without any answers there, as they put them in a nasty stagger loop for a large portion of this game, as they take a really nice lead here to potentially gain some momentum. I mean, we've seen both teams alternate wins here to start, but I mean, if one team can pull away with back-to-back wins or even more than that, like this could be something here. Although, I mean, both teams have been pretty evenly matched, so we'll have to see going into game 4.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, Siphonophoric able to just consistently keep Shadow Ancients away from really getting a push. That's one of the most important things in Splatoon. As much as it is a very fast-paced game in Splatoon 3, a lot of the games just come down to getting a substantial lead and then just preventing your opponent from pushing, just stalling out time, just making them not allowing them to get near that objective, controlling the special game, controlling the paint, and just preventing the other team from really getting to do anything, you know? Like, sure, we didn't see the KO from Siphonophoric, but pushing to 2 with 30 seconds left, that's essentially a KO.
Yeah, I mean, you saw when Shadow Ancients did get a chance to come back in mid about midway through the game that they were trying to do the same thing that Siphonophoric did to them. Play fast, push in the bats, get them in the stagger loop, but Siphonophoric did an excellent job of shutting that down right before it even began. The Octobrush got a nice 2 kills there that really changed the flow of the game and allowed them to get that push, which was before in the 20s, I think, and get it all the way to 2 by the end. So really nice job by Siphonophoric, staying strong in the defensive end and then playing quick and being able to turn that to offense very quickly there.
Sorry, I gotta rotate. Yeah, so going into game 4. Oh no, not to try to read the math upside down. So we're going into Rainmaker now as I try to I can't even rotate all the way. How do people do this? Oh, okay, wait. Oh, we're sideways. Oh, Jordan was helping me. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so now that I'm the proper way up, I'm so disoriented. Rainmaker on Museum is going to be our next game here. So Rainmaker is going to be very interesting because we're going to have to see these players do a similar idea to tower control where you're moving forward to the other team's base, but you have control of the speed. This isn't going to be about pushing players off the tower. It's about how can you isolate the Rainmaker player.
Yeah, and the map of Museum with a wide open mid where it's massive expanse of just flat terrain, not a lot of cover there. It'd be very interesting to see how that these teams can try and force the Rainmaker to get out of mid where they're just going to be kind of defenseless a lot of the time and get it to that spinner area by checkpoint where they're going to have a lot more cover, a lot more like terrain to work with in their favor. So very interesting to see how both these teams do as we see a Stamper come out for Shadow Ancients in response to that. No more S-Blast there. So look, maybe we can see that as the S-Blast on Siphonophoric is going to be taken out early, as well as that Dread. Shadow Ancients comes out strong for game 4 as they get 3 down. It is just the Octobrush there, and the Ink Brush for Shadow Ancients is going to get that check immediately there. So Shadow Ancients playing very quick to start, and they get the S-Blast again. They're starting to forms a sort of stagger loop here as they're going to pop again. This could be sort of a really nice push. The Dread is back, but they have people there. Here comes the Slider. It's not going to find the pencil as they hit behind the check. They're going to run for points here. They're going to get all the way to 33 from that. Wow, what a nice solo run by the pencil to get a lot of points there. I thought they were going to be taken out right after they left checkpoint, but they got a really nice push there to get to 33 with just over 45 seconds left in this game, or elapsed in this game, I should say.
Yeah, that was a really unfortunate slider we saw come from Mir. You hate to see it. I play a lot of slider. It's the worst feeling when you slide directly to somebody, they don't die, and then you're out of position because you went a little bit further than you might have wanted to as well. So Siphonophoric are pushed back already in this game, but there's still plenty of time left in the map, and with 3 members down on Shadow Ancients, it's just Sane left and has to back up and respect that numbers advantage. That's going to be a checkpoint for Siphonophoric. Now, they are down a member, but if they can play it smart, they can hold out this position till they've regrouped. Unfortunately, the slider, once again, not getting as much value as you'd like. It's down to Zbean to back up and let the team get back in. But with no checkpoint, their next push is going to be just a little easier.
Yeah, good defensive hold by Shadow Ancients there. You saw them play around that slider, get a punish on that, get 2 others down there. That could have gotten ugly, especially if the slider connected with 1 or 2 people there. But they did a really good job of playing around it, not panicking, and now they are getting ready to start their push. As you can see, their pencil player, they have the rain. They're just kind of holding it on the right side, waiting for their other teammates to kind of clear out the checkpoint area. They are going to go up that ramp here, and right now, no one's really trying to fight them. They're just kind of getting onto the plat for free. Interesting strategy there, but we'll see if it pays off. As right now, Siphonophoric is playing very far back. Keep an eye on that slider and that Booyah for them, though. As you can see, that Booyah is going to come out right now. It's going to hit behind, and it's going to get everyone except the rain, and that's a full wipeout. Siphonophoric plays back, plays for special, and it pays off. Shadow Ancients gets nothing on that push, and right now Siphonophoric is looking to punch back here with that checkpoint already gotten from earlier push.
It was great timing for Siphonophoric to get that wipe, because we just saw Zbean get picked off by Hebe in a very critical position for Octobrush to be in that top side. So if Shadow Ancients were able to walk through, that could have been deadly. So that was the best time at all to really get them away. Now back in the middle of the map, both teams skirmishing, trying to vie control and just find a way to, get the position for the next push here. Because with 2 minutes left, this game could go to whichever team finally gets the next push.
Yeah, and right now you kind of see it settling back into a game where teams are trying to fight more in mid. The Rainmaker grabbed a couple times by each team, but taken out pretty quickly after they grabbed it here. You can see the brush goes down for Shadow Ancients as well as the S-Boss there, so you can see some fights starting to take shape, but with Siphonophoric having the rain as well, they could be something. And the rain gets taken out, but the Zip gets it there, just trading back and forth here, which I think is going to ultimately work out in the favor of Shadow Ancients, who have that lead. They just want to waste time in mid where it's hard to get stuff going on this map. So interesting to see here. Siphonophoric does have a seemingly solid control in mid right now, but they haven't been able to really move away from it for like the last minute or so.
Yeah, and again, I talked about this at the end of the last game. Stalling is such an important skill. It doesn't matter if you can't make more progress as long as the other team can't either. Now, Siphonophoric need to find a way in. They do have 2 down, but they're going to need a special to get through. Unfortunately, nothing is there, and the Zip is going to come in from Hebe and take them down. Less than a minute left. Shadow Ancients still just have to continue to try to keep the members of Siphonophoric at bay.
Yeah, I mean, they finally get the Rainmaker out of mid as they look to kind of climb on that plat. They have the Dread ahead. Not for long as that's going to get taken out. The Rain is just going to get taken out immediately. That's 3 down. So Shadow Ancients keys that up very fast. They get the full wipeout there. And with 28 seconds left, they are free to just stall this if they wish. There's a really nasty stall spot in Museum. We'll see if they can figure that out or if they know about it. But right now, they're going to drop it top right. Doesn't look like they're going to be super aggressive here pushing it. As right now, Siphonophoric, they're going 2 down. They just need to run towards that Rain as fast as they can in hopes of forcing overtime. They get 2 down. The Rain is isolated there, and they do manage to get the Rain there. The Rainmaker does not go for the stall spot in the Uninkable, and they are taken down. So Siphonophoric is going to get a chance to force overtime. Oh, they are 2 down. They need to kind of just stall for a bit, and they are not able to do that as they are immediately dropped down by the 52, and that'll do it. Shadow Ancients ties the setup again, punches back, and takes the game. We're tied 2-2 going into game 5.
Yeah, unfortunately for Siphonophoric, that is probably one of the worst places on the map the Rainmaker can possibly be in an overtime scenario. just no cover whatsoever from the opposing side, and so close to their base allows them to get there quickly, even if they weren't already in position. So, yeah, great efforts from both sides, but we saw a similar situation to the last game where one team just gets a strong lead, and then we just see multiple minutes of fights where there's no decisive winner enough to really get a substantial position. So these teams just seem very, very evenly matched, which is honestly not too common in Div9 Splatoon.
Yeah, we got an excellent set in our hands. Like, you can go from game to game, and honestly, teams that just play completely different between the odd-numbered games and the even-numbered games. Siphonophoric controlled game 1 and 3 very nicely, but Shadow Ancients has bounced back every time with 2 pretty convincing wins, I'd say. So, I mean, it's anyone's game at this point. Like, I think I could easily see both these teams taking this at the end. Like, they've just been back and forth here. So, very interesting to see what comes to with a pivotal game 5 here, moving on to Mako Zones.
Yes, going back to Splat Zones, we've now cycled through all of the competitive modes, so both these teams now have a little bit of knowledge of how the other team might want to play Splat Zones, and now we're tied up once again, so getting this next win is going to be important, because this is where you need to start to build up a little bit of a lead and have that mental advantage, knowing that you have that safety net and that you have less work to do essentially to get the set win. So this win's going to be important realistically, not only for just having an extra point, but just for having the safety of having another win over your opponent. And like I said, we saw Splat Zones already after game 1, so both these teams hopefully should have a little bit of information and maybe see if they can find a way to push out their opponent and lock them out of the middle of the map.
Yeah, we do see Korn coming back for Shadow Ancients on the dualies there, as well as the S-Blast, so kind of return to what we saw in the first couple of games for Shadow Ancients, along with that pencil as well. And I think for Siphonophoric, this could be very interesting because that Dread Ringer, the Reslider, is just deadly on zones. In this map in particular, it can save knockouts, it can save a lot of stuff with a well-timed Reslider. So very interesting to see if that Reslider can get value for Siphonophoric here. As both S-Blasts go down to start here, Siphonophoric gets control of zone. They have a very nice comp for just outpainting the other team. But right now, it's kind of just getting settled in right now. Dewey's go down, Brush goes down, kind of trading blows here. The Reslider goes on the left stack, doesn't find anyone, but is able to follow up with the chip damage there. So Siphonophoric getting settled in feels like they've kind of won this opening fight, if not a bit slowly. And with the timer ticking down, this could be very good for them, I think.
Well, here's the thing. Siphonophoric won the opening fight slowly, but that bought them time, already down to 53, fighting to keep this zone in their color. But Korn is trying to say no, make it yellow, please, but unable to do it. Right now, Shadow Ancients are scrambling a little bit. They're trying to find a way to get back the zone, but Siphonophoric are just pushing back entirely. They have to get this zone eventually. There they go, finally getting that flip. But already 32 points after a minute into the game. Siphonophoric having a great opening, but Shadow Ancients looking to negate that with a push of their own.
Yeah, Shadow Ancients forcing a really nice lock on you. So you can see that besides that zip, everyone on Siphonophoric is still kind of recuperating on plat there. They managed to get a contest. They managed to punish the Booyah Bomb, Shadow Ancients does, that is. And they're going to hold that zone. 2 down though, 3 down though, and Siphonophoric is going to clean stuff up after that as well. They have that Booyah coming out now. They have a Reslider if they choose to use it there. The Dread fighting there. They pop the Reslider, but it gets canceled there. As Shadow Ancients, they actually did not get a penalty inflicted upon them there. I thought that Siphonophoric was going to get it, but right now that time is ticking down. They have a delayed 3-down situation there as that S-Blast is just wreaking havoc there. It gets another kill, and Shadow Ancients extremely close to lead. Everyone Siphonophoric is back on their plat. They need to go fast here. Lead is flipped. The Booyah comes into plat to stop me more. Finds the Dread Ringer, and right now, Shadow Ancients is asserting dominant control over mid right now as they're going down all the way to 12.
Less than 10 ticks left. Siphonophoric have to cap. Here comes the Booyah Bomb. Unable to flip the zone. They need a little bit more juice to get that zone flipped. But Neku by themselves manages to cap the zone. And just like that, Shadow Ancients KO.
Yeah, the sneaky good paint of Ink Brush on a closed, like, small area. It can cap a zone by itself like that. It has really good paint there. That's exactly what you saw. It pretty much capped that zone by itself, and Shadow Ancients rides a dominant Game 5 to a 3-2 series lead there. That's the momentum push that we've been looking for as they take back-to-back games for the first time in the set for either team.
Yeah, very surprised quick ending there. I thought that match was going to go on a little bit longer. We saw a lot in this game that players weren't able to cap as long as they were hoping to. They weren't able to cap as quick, and it didn't allow these players to really get that control. Because look at this last play, Neku able to get the zone by themselves against an Octobrush and a pencil. I was not a believer. I have a 5-star Ink Brush, and I was not a believer that that was going to happen. Honestly, very surprising ending, but Shadow Ancients definitely gonna take that win there. Now, I talked earlier about how that advantage is going to be very, very helpful, having that extra game up, and now Shadow Ancients are definitely hoping to continue this momentum into Game 6 is going to be Clam Blitz on Scorch Gorge. Definitely a very, very different scenario than Splatzone's Mako Mart. We've gone from a nice, cool AC building in a grocery store all the way to the desert.
Yeah, I think Scorched Clams here, it can be very stall heavy at times with mid being divided by that huge pillar there. I think that we could see a potential like 180, 100 game there well into the game. But I think like with the way these teams want to play fast. They rely on their aggressive weapons, that Ink Brush, that Octobrush, the S-Blast. I think that they're going to be wanting to push hard, maybe take that Grain Flank as well to kind of catch the other team off guard. But I mean, I think with Siphonophoric, they've shown flashes throughout the set, but I think if you lose this game, you're in deep trouble. There's a world of difference between being down 4-2 and being tied 3-3. This is when the Siphonophoric needs deeply. So we'll see what response they have there. I mean, like, I thought Mako Zone's a map that kind of favored their comp a little more, but Shadow Ancients pulled it off there. So I think right now they need to respond on a map that could potentially be tougher.
Yeah. And I think something that's going to be very important is just the usage of specials. We haven't talked about it much this set, but you know, you just talked about yourself. The comp from Siphonophoric looked like it would be better in Mako Zones, but we didn't see the Reef Slider get utilized as much as it could have been. We didn't see the Booyah Bomb from Juice get utilized as much as it could have been. We saw much more effectiveness from the Booyah Bomb from Hebe Danuki on the side of Shadow Ancients, which ultimately let them get that lockout at the end. So right now, we're going to need to see Siphonophoric kind of utilize those specials a little bit more if they want to tie this set back up here in Game 6.
Yeah, and we see the blue Dapple Dews come out for Siphonophoric to get a double Resliders. We see the Dread also come out there. So that's 2 Resliders for Siphonophoric. They're going to want to be pressuring that basket area with the sliders. That's how they're going to want to win here. And on the other side, you see that brush, which has been on the side of Shadow Ancients for the whole game. That can be very deadly here on Clam Blitz. It can catch people off guard. It can do a lot of things on Clam Blitz. You've seen the brush magic over the years, ever since Splatoon 2 when Clam's been introduced. But good opening fight by Shadow Ancients. They pick off both Reslider weapons. They get the cooler up, and they could potentially get to start pushing here as you see that 52 move up here.
Yeah, now you mentioned the double slider from Siphonophoric, but the double whale from Shadow Ancients is all going to be very interesting because it's going to give them a lot of global chip, a little more than what one whale would provide. And with the weapons they have, that chip could be very useful. Those indirects from the S-Blast, the swipes from the brush, and just a gal being able to one-shot somebody after they're already low. That's going to do Shadow Ancients a lot as they're already breaking the basket, jumping into second power clam, throwing it straight up and getting it in. They will get down to 57, but do get wiped now as Siphonophoric are going to rush to mid and make it as blue as possible.
A solid push for Shadow Ancients there, but they did pay the price. They got all 4 down there, and Siphonophoric is going to push up very fast here. The Dapples, it's one, gets a Reslider off, gets another, get taken out by the brush that was lingering there on Snipe. So they're holding them off for now, but Shadow Ancients is still 2 down. They get another kill with the edit, taking that Great Flank on the brush. And right now, they just need Clam Economy. They're all set up. That basket area is all blue. They just need clams. The Dread Ringer finally gets one. They need to kind of push forward, though, as Shadow Ancients has come back to defend that. They might try and get something with this Reslider here that they're holding. They try to pop it, but it gets canceled again. An unfortunate Reslider there, as Shadow Ancients somehow was able to hold on as they kind of retake their own basket area there.
Siphonophoric tried to force it a little bit too hard. They just tried to walk in and use specials and not actually get the players pushed away from those critical positions. You need to clear off that snipe and you need to clear out the pillow. As you see here, Siphonophoric are getting pushed out by Shadow Ancients. 2 players down on each side. He'd be making that a delayed wipe with that double kill 2 directs in a row. Here comes Sane jumping in with that power clam, getting it in. Another clam will get past that penalty, but 1 clam left on the side of Shadow Ancients may be the end of that push.
If you're Siphonophoric in that situation, you gotta take that as a win. I think that could have gotten ugly, but they did a good job cleaning up the basket, only getting 2 points there. If Shadow Ancients gets another push, that could be trouble, as they have a very small penalty. But I think, like, with Siphonophoric, you're getting sailed back into mid. You're still in good position to come back if the cards align. But I think right now we just gotta wait and see. They are on the doorstep. You're trying to push in with this reslider. Going to find someone there as well. The pencil is trying to defend there. They get a bubble set up, and this could be trouble. With that bubble set up, there's not a lot that the pencil or really anyone can do there. As ZB is gonna try and jump the pity clam. It looks like they're gonna have enough time. Are they gonna be able to get in safely? Yes, they are. They get the pity jump and they take that lead. Juice coming in with the slider on the jump, runs over 1 person, manages to live afterwards. They're gonna just go all the way into the spawn of Shadow Ancients, cause some more havoc, prevent Shadow Ancients, that is, from getting back into mid, and really just take up a whole lot of time as they finally go down there.
I do believe that Juice actually managed to pick out Sane there on the pencil in that position far up in the base, even after that push was over. So I like the chaos. I like the distraction from Juice there on those dapples. The lead once again being taken by Siphonophoric, so they are sitting in a bit more of a comfortable position with them just over a minute left. Already getting 3 down. It's just Neku by themselves in zone, but getting flanked by Juice. That's going to be a delayed wipe. Siphonophoric looking to break this basket, but they have to pass clams. It took them a little bit longer to do it. They passed the power clam forward. They kind of lost the time already. Shadow Ancients are here. They have to win another fight if they want to make a good push.
Yeah, they get the power claim here, but Siphonophoric has got to be careful here to not overextend. Shadow Ancients can just get 1 ball in on the counter push, and that would be enough for the lead. Although maybe not here, as we see a couple more clams come in and 2 go down the side of Shadow Ancients. This could actually be a much larger push than we originally anticipated here. As more come in, Siphonophoric gets all the way to 36 with 3 others on the doorstep to maybe extend this lead even more. They keep pushing in clams. They have a lot of people there, and Shadow Ancients is kind of in panic mode right now as they're dropping into basket, getting some picks, but also a couple dying there. Siphonophoric just keeps putting in clams. They've gotten all the way to 15. What we thought was going to be just a 1 power clam, a couple clams in and out sort of push has gone all the way to 15. It's gone completely out of hand, and with just 9 seconds left, Shadow Ancients got to go fast. Siphonophoric is 2 down, but with overtime about to start, they need a lot more clams than originally anticipated to get that lead again.
Yeah, Siphonophoric recognized the position they're in. They realized if they can make Shadow Ancients panic a little bit more and continue that push after it ended and get as many points as possible, it makes this overtime easier to subside. But getting picked off, actually no, the Z-Bean walking in and getting tons of picks and just completely prevented any opportunity there for Shadow Ancients. I was going to say that Shadow Ancients were about to give themselves an opportunity and break that basket, but Z-Bean, last second, just became a monster and walked through the whole roster of Shadow Ancients, confirming that victory. And once again, we are tied up in the set.
Yeah, the decaf from the top rope, shutting down any comeback attempt that Shadow Ancients might have had there to get this set all tied up again. And I think this is an insanely important win for Siphonophoric. Going down 4-2 would have been devastating, and Shadow Ancients really did a good job for the first part of this game. I personally thought that they were on their way to a nice win there, but Siphonophoric, 2 phenomenal pushes there to get to like the 50s and finally get all the way to 50 in their second push, where they just kept that basket open beyond all doubt. They got Shadow Ancients in a really nice staggered loop there and just took advantage of a really nice sustained push where like they didn't really played their hand all at once. They took turns kind of dying. They always had someone back to kind of get clams. They did a really nice job getting that push all the way down, just trickling down to the point where there was a really hard lead for Shadow Ancients to come back, even if they did manage to get that comeback attempt a little farther up. But I mean, I think we thought that Shadow Ancients got a little bit of momentum with the 2 prior games to this one, but just like that, Siphonophoric has seized it right back. We're tied again, and really this set, like, it feels like it's trending towards a game 9 at this point. Like, these teams just back and forth. Like we've seen so many great plays from each team at this point, and I mean it's still anyone's guess. We know just as much now as we did before this set started regarding to who's gonna win. Like it's so close.
Yeah, and as you said, we might have expected the momentum from Shadow Ancients, but Siphonophoric seemed very aware of that game. They kind of understood the position they were in a lot of the time. As I mentioned, in that last push, when we thought it was done, they started just pushing it a little bit further because they knew they could spare it. They wanted to get the biggest lead possible so that when overtime starts, all they have to do is defend and not let them get to the points they just pushed to. So it is a very smart strategy. And we just saw a lot of intentional plays, I think, coming in from Siphonophoric that game, which it has worked them wonders in that game, and maybe it can work them wonders going in this set, because being tied at 6 games is a curious position, because now we are essentially playing a best of 3. There's 3 games left. If you win 2, you win. But these teams are warmed up and they know how each other plays. They just played 6 games of Splatoon against each other, now going into essentially a best of 3. So as we've been saying, and as you kind of just mentioned again, this could really go either way, but now these teams are ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, going into Game 7 here, I think it's Tower something. I'm not quite sure, actually. But I think that, I mean, like, at this point, like, we just don't know. Like, I think that these teams have just answered in completely different ways. I think, like, you look at the double reslider comp that Siphonophoric threw at us last game, like, it worked extremely well. The Dapples is wreaking havoc. The Dread was putting on a ton of paint, too. It was really nice there. It's going to be Tower ship shape there. And, I mean, like, these teams, they've just surprised us at every turn so far. It's been a wonderful set to watch as a spectator here. And, I mean, like, I'm really excited to see what we can do in this pivotal Game 7, where I think like a winner here is going to put you in very good position to take this set, move on to Div9W finals here, as we are going to get started now.
Yes, just as you say, we have to remember whichever team loses here is out of the LUTI season. The winner will be going on to the finals of Div9W. Neither of these teams want to lose out on that chance. They've been fighting so hard to get here, and we're already in Game 7. Both teams rushing into the middle of the map. Who will win this first little engagement and really get a good position? We're seeing Mirror trying to poke out that side, but unable to find any value. Now, 2 members of Siphonophoric trying to fight in the middle, but 1 goes down. Make that 2, and like that, Shadow Ancients are going to push forward. It's just ZB, and they have to jump out and respect it. And Shadow Ancients are making a pretty convincing opening push here.
Good clean start for Shadow Ancients here, as they're going to get the bubble on the tower there for that first checkpoint. I think it's going to be very unlikely that Siphonophoric is going to be able to prevent them falling. The Zipcaster is actually going to do that, just that though. They go right through the bubble. Here comes 2 resliders there. Doesn't find anyone, but I mean, like, that's got to be intimidating if you're Shadow Ancients. But I mean, you have that zip used already. You had both resliders used already. Shadow Ancients still has the tower in a very nice spot here, although they got to watch out for that flank here. Juice from behind is going to take them out and prevent the top from getting any far, despite Shadow Ancients getting through that checkpoint.
Yeah, Shadow Ancients definitely wanted a little bit more from that push, but a checkpoint is a checkpoint, especially one that has an extra duration like that first one. So it's going to give them an easier time going forward in this match. But first, they're going to have to get back in position. PB is able to camp that jump, even with the rolling from the dualies. Here comes a slider from Juice. Is going to manage to pick off 1 after another pick they got just previously. Now, Corrin is the first back for Shadow Ancients. It's a delayed wipe, so Siphonophoric are in a pretty similar scenario to what we saw a minute ago from Shadow Ancients, who are looking for a checkpoint of their own.
Yeah, here comes 1 reset. It's going to be used to retreat there. But they do have a zip still. That's going to come out on the Octobrush for ZB. Going to try and press that plat. Finds Corrin there. They're looking for the pencil kill. The pencil's going to drop. They're in a fight with the Dread. They got to back up all the way to spawn. And Siphonophoric is going to get past checkpoint and get that lead without much hassle there. 2 go down. So Dibs might be the extent of their push as it trends towards second checkpoint. And that's exactly what's going to happen as Shadow Ancients cleans things up there. But Siphonophoric takes the lead, and maybe trying to get some more momentum here as they're getting set up there. Z-Bean finds a couple kills there. They see a jump and pit, and it's the decaf, so they might not be able to do it, but the decaf does go down there as well. So you got Corrin with the crab on top left trying to defend second checkpoint, but I mean, like, it's carnage at this point. People going down left and right. This is peak ship-shaped tower where things get very messy by the second checkpoint a lot of the time.
things are getting messy, but Siphonophoric does still seem like they're doing things meticulously. You may be able to see in the replays later, but when they got that first checkpoint, Mira ran in by themselves and fought a 1v2 in the spawn of Shadow Ancients and ran out of ink, but then still was not dying, and it caused two members of Siphonophoric two members of Shadow Ancients, to not be able to walk towards the tower, and it got Siphonophoric so much room, and with that second checkpoint going down, Shadow Ancients have to find a way back in. They do get a wipeout, but with less than 2 minutes left, they have to clean up the map and get a clean push all the way through the last checkpoint and try to get a lead.
Shadow Ancients prevents the KO, stops the bleeding a bit there, but that second checkpoint, getting past it for Siphonophoric, you gotta feel good if you're in their VC right now. It's just so pivotal for how teams want to play Ship-Shape Tower. But I mean, you can kind of see stuff going, but 2 go down on Shadow Ages, 3 go down. It's just Neku on the decap. They're going to get taken out too. It's a full wipeout, and Siphonophoric with all checks already cleared, they could potentially start a counter push that can maybe go all the way to a KO, but they got to get there first here. Here comes the Zipcaster from Zbean, trying to look to see maybe get the pencil on the left. They're going to team up with the Resider that forced one into pit. Zip is going to recall. Both Resider players are down, so it might be the extent of that, but really scary push there for Siphonophoric, and with Shadow Ancients also being able to clean it up really nicely there.
Shadow Ancients were able to stave off that push, but once again, Siphonophoric didn't lose anything for that push. They didn't lose their positioning. They still have a lot of purple paint in the map. With 45 seconds left, Shadow Ancients need to clear them out. The 3 go down. It's just Stego left on that pencil. They have to get set up and ready for their team. We're looking to see them get in a pivotal position to block out that tower. 2 members of Siphonophoric are in that top side, able to get above the tower, or at least the tower where it was going to be on that checkpoint. And right now, this is going to be the final fight of the match. Which team is going to get the picks here? 2 members down on each side. The slaughter coming from Mirror will get 1. Unable to get the jump, though. They get picked off. And now just players both on each side staggering and jumping in, trying to move this tower forward through this last checkpoint. But Shadow Ancients still can't get it yet. Zbean jumping in the tower, but here comes the Booyah shredding them out. And nope, only 1 player left. They go down. Another one jumping in. It goes down 2. And the 3rd jump, it's unable to. A 4th jump, and they can't get it. Siphonophoric just playing darts, just throwing everything they can at the tower, getting rid of each jump one by one, and holding on to that game.
There's perhaps not a better spot in any of the maps in this game where chaos reigns than the second checkpoint on Ship-Shape Tower. Oh my god, you saw everyone die at some point on both teams. Like, it was pandemonium there. It was just stagger after stagger after stagger for both teams. They were getting so many trades, specials flying everywhere. You got a Reef going one way, you got the Booyah going the other way. It was chaos, and somehow Siphonophoric, they remain calm throughout all that. They defend the checkpoint despite the 4 straight jumps from Shadow Ancients, and they were in discipline for all 4 of them. They prevent that checkpoint falling and hold on for dear life to take game 7 and take a 4-3 lead and put it in game point there. So pivotal win for Siphonophoric. And with this set, like, winning 2 in a row this late, that's about as good of a momentum as you're going to get, with no team really getting momentum for much of this set. So I think this is the best chance that Siphonophoric is going to have. I think from their perspective, you want to close it out on game 8 right here. You don't want to let Shadow Ancients back into it and force a pivotal game 9. Like, I think you really just want to get this over with and try and make it as less stressful as it possibly can. Although at this point, I think like there's stress on both sides based on how these last couple games have gone.
Yeah, it not only does Siphonophoric have the momentum of having 2 wins in a row and maybe, you know, have that snowball effect, but the fact that they only need 1 more to win the entire set is huge, because they can play a little bit riskier. We've been seeing how calculated Siphonophoric has been. In the last 2 games especially, we've seen a lot more intentional plays from them and focusing on how they can support the objective with their role, which is very important. So going into this game, they can play very risky and push forward and really be aggressive and make Shadow Ancients panic, because they don't want to go to game 9 here.
Absolutely. And I think if you are Shadow Ancients, you need to win these next two or you're out of LUTI. You miss out your chance to go on to finals here. So this is, you got to do your best here, but with Undertow Rain, with that double reslider is going to be nasty there if they can get them off in time. Like just being able to insta-pop so much, clear space for the Rainmaker carrier. If they can make that work, Siphonophoric could be, or Shadow Ancients that is, could be in a lot of trouble. Like I think.
Yeah, Shadow Ancients already, though, taking the numbers advantage, grabbing this Rainmaker, moving it left. But here comes one of those two sliders, unable to find the Rain, but does pick off Hebe. So they're unable to support Neku on that Rainmaker. They are going to walk by themselves, though, to get a little bit of space, put the Rainmaker in a better position to try to negate some of that counter push that's about to come out from Siphonophoric.
Yeah, you can see Siphonophoric trying to get something with that zip, but Z-Beam's going to be taken down there. Midway, they're going for that left checkpoint. Very interesting play, but they're going to get taken on immediately as they clean up the last one with the Dapples there. And now Shadow Ancients, they can start a really nice counter push with all of them wiped out. Z-Beam's going to try and pivot to that right check as quickly as they can, but Shadow Ancients has a lot of people there. You see their S-Blast at 52, the Brush sharking there on top as well. The Pen is going to try and go for that checkpoint, but the zip, maybe it was a zip, I couldn't tell, there's a lot going on there, but for whatever reason, Siphonophoric holds the checkpoint there, gets a nice stop, cleans it up, although you still see Neku with that brush. They are going to drop back down, but they were lingering there for a bit longer, so Siphonophoric with a nice defensive stand, but they haven't quite gotten ready to start their counter push yet.
Now, the Rainmaker did get left on the ground to reset. That does waste a little bit of time. I feel like Siphonophoric may have wanted to grab that Rainmaker and just try to start moving it forward. Because Shadow Ancients already back in control here. Bud is pushing forward and buying some space, forcing that slider out. He'd be able to get a trade, but getting picked off by the zip. Now, each side looking to find some control. Here comes the second slider. Mirror unable to find anything. But Siphonophoric just barely managing to get control there and looking to get the first checkpoint of the game.
That Rainmaker is just going to get melted by the Killer Whale there. Really nice job by whoever popped out of the 52 or the Brush here. And Shadow Ancients getting ready to get started again. Maybe getting that check this time here. You can see that Octobrush goes down. The Ink Brush goes down the other side for Shadow Ancients. It's a 3v3 to start. The 52 is trying to take space behind that spy. They pop the whale, but they're not going to pursue. You see the Dapples try and get a flank there. That gets shut down. The Rainmaker is trying to push towards that right checkpoint. Siphonophoric is set up there. They have a lot of people there. They're going to mow down that pencil, get the 52 as well. So another really good defensive stand in that checkpoint area by Siphonophoric.
Yeah, great defensive stand now. Once again, both teams are trying to find a first checkpoint. It's not often that you see both teams like looking for a checkpoint as a way to get the lead. And here comes Neku with the flank coming in from the grates of Siphonophoric, sharking and waiting for players to look away and able to get that checkpoint. That's what I talked about earlier. I didn't like that Siphonophoric let the Rainmaker reset next to the pedestal. It's a very, very risky play to make. It worked out in their favor the first time, but Neku took full advantage, and as the last man there, was able to get that checkpoint, and now Siphonophoric have to play from behind.
The Brush player making Brush player things happen here. As Siphonophoric pivots to the right checkpoint, he's actually going to get that. So with these checkpoints being a big point of stalling for these pushes for both teams, I think both of them have fallen now. So we could start to see points fly off the board with either one of these pushes here. The pencil is just going to run that Rainmaker solo. They're not going to get too far, but the person who killed him is going to get punished in turn by that 52. So Shadow Rain is still in a good position there to continue that push. They have 3 on mid, but their 4th coming back soon. And the bomb off the wall is going to kill the 52. Good heads-up play by Mirror there to get a quick kill. And maybe just put some momentum on the side of Siphonophoric there. This could be, I think, maybe a turning point. But we shall see here as the Rainmaker is going to reset here.
Yeah. Shadow Ancients are in mid trying to push Siphonophoric away. They have a lead, but only by 1 point, so it's not a very convenient defense to hold if you're pushed into overtime. So Shadow Ancients definitely do want to try to get another push here, using those splash walls just to keep that Rainmaker from moving until they can get some space. But with 2 members down, Siphonophoric potentially looking to make a run here. They're going into the right side, opting to try to do the riskier play because they only really need 1 point to take a lead. That slider getting canceled though. The last player alive, Stego, is going to have to try to push players out. No, a delayed wipe now. Shadow Ancients are in control of the map with a stagger.
Yes, I think that was a delayed wipeout on the side of Siphonophoric. They are all coming back from spawn. I think they're not even going to bother picking up this Rainmaker despite being in a pretty precarious position close to where they need to get lead. They're just leaving it semi-pop there. The Zip is going to try and prevent that, but with 8 seconds left, they might not have time. Although there's 2 down there. 3 go down. Siphonophoric gets a restart. They get the lead. Unbelievable. Shadow Ancients tries to stall there. The Brush gets 3 there to maybe start, but Shadow Ancients is going to get the wipeout, so they might gonna have time to get a push there. They only need 3 points, but Siphonophoric, they stole the lead there. Shadow Ancients had this game won, but now they have to come back to keep their LUTI season alive. It's going to come down to this. They might try and go right because they do only need 3 points. Left side is going to be more risky if you don't need that much here. The Dread goes down, the Brush goes down. They're gonna swim for it, and they're gonna get taken out by the edit, and that's it. Siphonophoric takes the set, stealing game 8, and moving on to finals here.
My mouth was agape that whole last like overtime plus like the last like maybe 10 to 15 seconds. Shadow Ancients, why did they leave the Rainmaker? They had that victory. They left the Rainmaker unattended and didn't pop it. And I think the strategy there was, oh, we'll keep them away from the Rainmaker and not let them get overtime. But we've seen how deadly Siphonophoric can be. We've seen them get plenty of wipes and delayed wipes. So relying on not dying may not be the best strategy when your back is against the wall and able to get a lead at the last second. Shadow Ancients weren't able to force the overtime past that lead of 57. So just like that, Siphonophoric are gonna go to finals.
Yeah, that's a game that's gonna sit with you, that you're not gonna forget that for a long time if you're on either side for very different reasons. I mean, just the game in general. Like, you rarely see Undertow Rainmaker games be this low scoring. Like, both teams barely got past checkpoint. Like, Siphonophoric's final push barely got the lead at the end. It was a huge defensive stand game. But I mean, like, with Shadow Agents, I think they opted to just leave the Rainmaker like almost pop but not quite, in the hope that they could just stall out Siphonophoric from preventing rather than try and pick it up and potentially risk dying that way. But I mean, like, Siphonophoric, they got 2 down on Shadow Agents, and from there they just all rushed to pop that rain, and Shadow Agents couldn't hold on, and from there, like, all hell broke loose. You saw people going down on both sides. The Brush got a triple in there somewhere after they got lead. Like, it was chaos once again, which I think has been the main theme for this set, just chaos everywhere. But I mean, amidst all that chaos, Siphonophoric barely gets that lead again, and they win the last 3 games to take the set.
I don't know how to turn upside down. I'm not very flexible. But yes, Siphonophoric are able to take this set over Shadow Ancients. I think an important lesson both teams have learned today is to make sure that you are watching the Rainmaker, because both sides saw the Rainmaker get grabbed under their noses when they left it relatively unattended. So you really need to make sure you're grabbing that Rainmaker and moving it. The blood is slowly rushing to my head as I'm sitting here sideways trying to commentate. But yes, so congratulations to Siphonophoric for going to the finals. We're going to see them be facing off against Steralia for your Div9 W finals. At least I'm hoping so. I'm very much hoping they're going to be putting it on LUTI tonight. This is a reminder that if you're playing in LUTI, anybody, to please submit your games to be played. We love to watch them. We love to commentate them and show off the gameplay to the world. But that being said, that is all we have for now. We will be back in a couple of hours, I believe, 8 p.m. EST. I'm doing conversions. I'm in a different time zone. Later tonight for our Div7 semifinals. So go do some other stuff. Go enjoy your Saturday, but come back tonight. Yes, 8 p.m. EST. We have Rainfall versus Amendo Bobos. I did not read that name ahead of time. I should have done that. Rainfall's a fun team to watch. Actually, DHVF specifically is the captain of Rainfall, so if you enjoyed listening to DHVF, you get to go watch them play Splatoon tonight. So don't miss that. Before we sign off, DHVF, please plug yourself. Let the viewers know where they can find you or keep up with your shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I'm gonna be going from commentary to player later tonight. I'm gonna be playing for Rainfall in the set that we're gonna see later tonight. So go watch that. It's gonna be a fun time. We're gonna have some really nice commentators there as well. So yeah, I'll be playing that tonight. But in general, you can find me DHVF28 Twitter, Blue Sky. Use Blue Sky more though. And yeah, I mean, if you see me around, I'm the captain of Rainfall. I mean, so say hi if you see me. But yeah, Hammy, where can we find you?
You can find me most actively on Blue Sky right here at hitw.inc. You can also just go to that website and it'll bring you right there. And you can find me basically everywhere else on the internet at Hammy in the Wall. Thank you all for watching LUTI tonight here on Splatoon Tourney. Once again, come back in about, maybe just under 3 hours, and we'll have some more Splatoon action for you. Once again, thank you for DHVF for commentating with me, Jorian on the production, always killing it, myself, Hammy on the mic, and we will see you all later tonight.